This is Adam Graham from Pretty Much the Present, bringing you a week of old-time radio podcasts. These episodes were originally released back in 2011, and we're releasing them here pretty much as is, with only some extraneous bits such as the opening from all of the episodes after the first episode removed. Because these are old, it should be noted that any offers or promotions mentioned in the episode may not be valid unless they're currently mentioned on the Great Detectives website. Here now is a week of old-time radio detective podcast. Welcome to the Great Detectives of Old Time Radio from Boise, Idaho. This is your host, Adam Graham. If you have a comment, email it to me, box13@greatdetectives.net. Give us a call, 208-991-4783. Well, I've decided to go ahead with an experiment in listener support as opposed to advertising. We've received some positive feedback and no really negative feedback about going that way. So I'm going to take a little bit of time here to explain what we're doing. It won't be this long before every show, I promise, but just kind of to get the concept down. Well, I had in mind kind of like a pledge drive that you'll often see for a variety of different television and radio stations that are non-profit, community-based, public, or religious. And with this, at certain levels of donation and support, a thank you gift is sent along. So that's what we're going to do. In explaining why we're doing this, I will say that regardless of how this comes out, we're still going to do our best to continue to bring you the Great Detectives of Old Time Radio, because we love doing this show and we love getting your feedback. There are two major reasons why we're doing this. First is part of a long-term personal goal, to be able to focus my life on the things that I'm really passionate about. And vintage radio, the golden age, definitely is something I'm passionate about. I've had a lot of ideas to do other podcasts, but with work and the other things you have to do to make a living, just has not been the time. I'd love to do an adventure podcast, love to do American history podcast, just simply not the time. So to get more focused on my writing and on the podcast, that's the first thing. The second thing is there are some additional things that we could do with additional money, and we have the option to do. In terms of there are conventions that we could visit, or we might find additional recordings or information, or be able to talk with, network with folks, as well as potentially being able to find and learn about new shows. So that would add some flexibility. So the way that this particular campaign will work for the next 3 weeks is that every tip, $7 or above, will continue to get access to our premium site. In addition to that, donations of $20 or more will be eligible for an additional gift via digital download. And I'm thankful that I came up with this idea, because physically sending things around is kind of a cumbersome way to go. But these will be digital downloads. You'll be sent a link from Audible, doesn't matter whether you're an Audible member or not, and then be able to go download your gift. At the $20 donation level, what we're offering is a radio play from the Colonial Radio Theater of the Air. We've posted a review of a few of their products and conducted a blog interview with Jerry Robbins, who is on most of their big productions. And they do a really great job in creating these radio plays, so kind of helping to promote them through this effort. We'll send you one radio play, and the main choices I would offer is their production of the first Perry Mason performance, Perry Mason and the Case of the Velvet Claws, their first collection of Father Brown stories, dramatized for radio, Zorro and the Pirate Raiders, and King Solomon's Mine. I will say that on the Perry Mason, it's a very different Perry Mason from the one that you may have seen on television with Raymond Burr. This is based on the original books, and it's more of a kind of hard-boiled feel to it. They work just to stay very faithful to the books. So one of those four options are available. And then at the $50 level, the one thing physically we'll be happy to send out is a copy of our book, Tales of the Dim Night, autographed by both myself and my wife. But we also have another digital download offer. With any donation of $50 or more, we'll go ahead and send you, as a thank you gift, your choice of any of the Marple or Poirot BBC Radio 4 audio plays. And I'll highlight Five Little Pigs, because that's been my favorite of the Poirot audio plays. And also Elephants Can Remember, which is the latest one they've done. And then at the $100 level, we'll send you a gift certificate to radioarchives.com, which will be sufficient to buy any of their digital download radio sets. And they have so many great classic radio programs available, some of which are not easily obtained elsewhere. But even those that are more easily obtained, the sound quality on there is kind of luxurious. They really did a great job on restoring the sound on all of their projects. They sound like they were recorded last week rather than 60 or 70 years ago. And so you'll be able to enjoy one of those sets with a donation of $100 or more. You can also choose from something else that's on the site that you might want as well. If to support us, go to support.greatdetectives.net and make your pledge today. There is a limit of one item in addition to the premium membership per tip. Here now is today's episode of Barrie Craig, Death of a Private Eye.
William Gargan stars as Barrie Craig, confidential investigator.
I knew a murderer once who was planning to get married. So he killed a man for money enough to furnish a house. It didn't work out, though. All he got was the chair.
The National Broadcasting Company presents William Gargan in another transcribed drama of mystery and adventure with America's #1 detective, Barrie Craig, confidential investigator.
Barrie Craig speaking. It gets dark early these days. It's always cold, and a confidential investigator's business dies a slow death. Maybe it's because the weather discourages romance. Wives stay home knitting. Husbands decide the blonde wasn't born who's worth a trip through the icy city. So I'm in the office pretending to go through the files, trying to keep the corpse warm. The buzzer buzzes, and I look up. Maybe I think it'll be a fireman. It's open. If it is, he forgot to bring the fire with him.
You, Craig?
I'm Craig. Sit down.
Yeah. And cold out.
That's why I'm still here, Mr.
Hearn's the name. Joe Hearn.
How do you do?
Are you in a position to take on a job?
A job for when?
Tonight.
Oh, you're lucky. It so happens I'm free tonight. Now, if you'd wanted me to go to work tomorrow, you'd still be lucky. I'd be free then, too. What's the matter, Pop?
Huh? Oh, nothing, just cold. I ain't so young anymore.
Who is? This job for tonight, what's it about?
It's just that I want you to go along with me to pay a visit.
Sounds easy enough.
Yeah, I used to have one of those.
What? Oh, investigator's license?
Yeah. Nothing but night watching now, though. Job won't take more than a couple hours. Would $25, you know?
Sure.
Yeah, I got the dough with me. It's out on Staten Island.
Ouch.
It ain't too bad. You can stay inside on the ferry. You better meet me around 8:30, hmm?
Okay.
Down in the Bay Drive corner, Western, 8:30. Place we're going to is maybe a 5-minute walk from there.
Bay Drive and Western, 8:30.
Yeah. Well, I guess I'll see you later, huh?
Oh, Mr. Hearn,
Yeah?
$25 for company on a visit is a little on the rich side for you, isn't it?
Yeah, but on this visit,
Yeah?
I want to make sure I don't get killed.
Mr. Hearn didn't pause to explain. I started after him, shrugged my shoulders, went back to the desk, and put my files away. A client's got a right to his privacy. I wondered how I'd like being a night watchman if I ever washed up as a private eye. I decided I wouldn't and headed for a hamburger joint instead of a steakhouse for dinner. The ferry had been fine, but Bay Drive turned out to be right on the bay. I didn't care for the result. I was maybe 3/4 of a block away from the intersection of Bay Drive and Western when the car passed me. The street didn't run to many lampposts, and the pedestrians were all home. I didn't think the car's driving without lights was accidental. I began to run. I could see Joe Hearn shuffling his feet, trying to keep warm on the corner. The car moved in fast, and... Then it went away. No license plate. I got to where Hearn was hugging the pavement and bent over him. He'd given up trying to keep warm. He'd never be warm again. Bay Drive ran parallel to the water. Nothing was below it except a crooked shoreline and the cold darkness of the bay itself. I'd flagged a passing car and had the news phoned in. After a while, Joe Hearn had a spotlight on him, the undivided attention of a half a dozen cops and a nervous intern. Joe Hearn wasn't particularly interested.
Barrie?
Welcome to Staten Island, Lieutenant Rogers.
Thanks. I could use a red carpet for a windbreak. Hearn hired you to help him pay a visit. To whom?
Me, I would have said to who?
That's an interesting sidelight on your grammar. Doesn't tell me anything, though.
That's because I don't know anything. Hearn wasn't giving out information.
Hearn was a night watchman for the coastlines. He worked in one of their warehouses.
Near here?
Half an hour's walk.
No help there. His date was closer.
His date has been canceled. Nobody spotted the car, Barrie.
Probably put the lights on again once it got a few blocks away. Trav, were your men able to dig up anything on Hearn's actions just before he wound up here?
Landlady of his boarding house said he had dinner there. He stopped off at a place called Old Tyrol for a beer. I spoke to the manager, a man named Grunner. Wound up with nothing. Hearn always had a beer there on his way to work. That's it?
Yeah, I hope he enjoyed his beer. They finished with the chalk marks and the flashbulb. Hearn wasn't a heavy man. I had no trouble rolling him onto a stretcher and taking him away. The last I saw of him was a pair of tired shoes. The right one had a hole in it. I thought maybe I'd try the beer at the Old Tyrol. I wasn't fooling anybody. The $25 in my pocket was bothering me. I hadn't earned it. The place was full of people. The waiters were girls dressed in costume. I suppose their bare knees improved the customers' appetite. I hoped nobody would start yodeling.
Good evening, sir. You want a table, maybe, huh?
Well, I'm looking for Mr. Gruner.
I am Gruner.
My name's Craig, Barrie Craig.
Yeah?
I'm working for Joe Hearn.
But the man is dead, no?
I'm still working for him. I'm a confidential investigator.
It is very sad what happens to Mr. Hearn, but I have already told the police everything I know.
Suppose you tell me all over again.
I do not know exactly what the confidential investigator means, but I am a friend of the police captain here in the district.
That's nice.
He would not like it that I am disturbed.
Hearn didn't like trying to breathe through the blood in his lungs.
You do not make yourself very pleasant. I will not talk with you more.
No?
Please, you will let go of me.
How many murdered men have you ever looked at, Mr. Gruner?
I say you let
They're
go.
not pretty. Mostly they die with their eyes open. Killer's got so little time he doesn't bother shutting their eyes.
Yeah, but...
And what you see in a murdered man's eyes isn't pleasant, Mr. Gruner. There's nothing much anybody can do about it except turn up the killer. That's what I'm trying to do.
I understand. I wish to help, only...
Yeah. You own this building?
Yeah.
Coming, I noticed it had 2 stories. What's upstairs? More restaurant?
No. It is storerooms and things like that.
Things like that. Mind if I take a look?
Why do you wish that?
Maybe I'm thinking of retiring and opening a restaurant with storerooms upstairs.
It is closed upstairs. I cannot permit you...
Never mind.
Yeah. No, if you'll excuse... I go to work. But, perhaps you will be a guest of the management, huh? The Wiener Schnitzel here is very good.
So's the beer, I understand. No, thanks. For some reason, I can't think of what it is exactly. I haven't got an appetite. Good night, Mr. Gruner.
Welcome to the Bay Drive precinct, Barrie.
Hello, Trav.
How's the beer at the old Tyrol?
What makes you think I've been there?
We've met before. You're bothered about Hearn.
Sure. I owe him $25 worth of investigation.
Uh-huh. Worrying about money?
What else?
I won't tell anybody you're sentimental, Barrie.
Thanks. I'll keep quiet about your reading books.
That makes us even. What'd you find out, if anything, at the old Tyrol?
Nothing. You?
You gave us the fact that Hearn was a private eye once upon a time.
So?
Reason he quit was because the commission revoked his license.
They must have had a reason.
They had.
A good one?
Not too good, but they couldn't help themselves. Happened around 10 years ago.
You going to talk without prompting?
The way it went was Joe Hearn had an office downtown, on the waterfront. Had a lot of jobs for shipping outfits. Was doing pretty well. Until he testified against a man named Pete Solder.
They had a law then about testifying against men named Pete Solder?
The charge against Solder was smuggling. His lawyer brought in a lot of witnesses. In the higher income brackets, Barrie.
That made them good witnesses?
Well, it helped. The case against Solder was shot full of little holes. Hearn almost got himself charged with perjury.
Was Solder guilty?
Sure. Ran gambling houses, too. He was deported a few years later. But at the time of the trial, his guilt couldn't be proved.
So Hearn had his license taken away.
Was that or a perjury charge?
Trav, let me have a list of the witnesses that testified for Solder, huh?
Yeah, I've got it here.
Thanks.
Grunner isn't on the list.
No. Thanks, Trav.
You leaving?
Uh-huh.
And going where?
Back to the waterfront.
Got a lead?
No.
But you're going anyway. All for $25?
No. I keep remembering Hearn's shoes.
What about them?
They had holes in them. I went back to the corner of Bay Drive and Western. The cops were gone. Hearn was gone. The only thing left was a blood stain on the pavement. Not much to show for a lifetime. I remembered what Hearn had told me. His visit was to a place 5 minutes from Bay and Western. It wouldn't have been back along the way I'd come. It couldn't be down Western to the water. It might have been up Western going inland. It might have been along Bay Drive where it hugged the shore. I'd invest 5 minutes along the shore. Hearn's life had been played near water and it ended there. 5 minutes was a small investment. But Bay Drive died on me. In 5 minutes, a high brick wall stared at me. I backed up away from it, and there was a house rising above the wall, set deep behind it. Maybe it was the wind that lifted the small hairs out of the back of my neck. I found a gate in the wall. There were lights in the house.
Who's that?
Open the gate.
Sure, I'll open. Now what?
I'm paying a visit to the house.
What time do you think it is?
2:30 in the morning.
No time for visiting. Everybody's asleep.
The lights are on.
They're nervous up at the house. They sleep with the lights on. Now.
No.
Listen, I don't want to get rough.
I'm visiting.
Oh, you're on your way out.
Now.
Hey, you nearly broke my arm.
Keep your hands out of your pocket. I'm not interested in your gun.
I wasn't.
You mean you're not? The house, huh?
Okay. I don't know what you think you're doing.
Paying a visit. You announced me as Craig.
Craig?
Yeah, Barrie Craig.
Hey, you're a private eye.
Confidential investigator sounds more expensive.
What are you so kind of edgy tonight?
Maybe I'm always edgy.
Dodging in on Mrs. Warren like this won't do you any good, though.
I'm not looking for any good. What's your name?
Dolan.
Got a license for that gun you're carrying?
What's the matter? You got a license complex or something?
Forget it. That gun been used recently?
Keep popping on my gun. Lay off. They've been out the grounds all night.
I didn't ask you. Mrs. Warren run to a butler?
He goes to bed early.
All right. Get back to the gatehouse.
Oh, wait a
I
minute.
said get back.
You like to throw your weight around, don't you?
I've got plenty of it.
Yeah. Only one thing. There's just so much I'll take, and then...
And then?
Nothing.
Dolan, what...
I'm not Dolan.
So I see.
The name's Barrie Craig. Mind if I come in?
That might depend on just who Barrie Craig is.
Well, he's a confidential investigator. He's got an office in the city, a license under glass, and
And?
a necessity for visiting.
Does it happen often?
No.
Well, I suppose there's no harm in indulging you, Mr. Craig.
That's up to you.
Would you go away if I asked you to?
No.
Come in, Mr. Craig. It's a strange hour for a visit, Mr. Craig.
You're up, Mrs. Warren?
I keep strange hours. Why did you come here?
A man named Joe Hearn was shot to death a little while ago.
Oh, but...
He was a private eye once upon a time. More recently, he's been a night watchman. Right now, he's dead.
Well, I'm sorry about that. I suppose investigators are all fine men.
They bleed when they're shot, and when they've bled long enough, they die.
That was hardly necessary.
People don't always realize. Big house you've got here.
Yes.
Around 8:30 tonight, you were where?
I don't really see why I should answer your question.
Do you mind answering?
Of course not.
Then,
8:30, I was here. I may have been reading.
alone?
My husband's dead.
Oh.
The butler goes to bed very early. But of course, there's Dolan.
There's always Dolan. The grounds run right down to the water's edge, don't they?
They do.
You're a beautiful woman, Mrs. Warren.
Thank you.
Beautiful and rich. Why did you let me walk through your front door?
Meaning that I didn't have to?
I'd put it that way.
But perhaps I wanted to.
Was it my hand-tailored suit or my polished manners?
Your polished manners. Or perhaps the hat you're wearing. It's still on your head.
In the trial of a man named Pete Solder a number of years ago, another man named Thomas Warren testified on Solder's behalf.
Thomas Warren was my husband.
I know. Thomas Warren's testimony helped a private investigator named Joe Hearn lose his license.
Oh, we're back to that.
We never left it. It was that Joe Hearn who died tonight.
What possible interest could I...
Solder knew lots of people like the Thomas Warren. He must have had something.
I hardly knew him.
You must have been what, 18 at the time? A few years older when Solder was deported? Did you still hardly know him then?
I'm trying to understand why you're asking me these questions.
Hearn was killed a few minutes after he left a restaurant and bar called the Old Tyrol. It's run by a man named Gruner. He keeps his supplies upstairs behind drawn blinds and with the lights on.
I know nothing about the Old Tyrol or a man named Gruner. Mr. Craig, why don't you take your hat off?
Why should I?
Perhaps because I want to see what your hair is like.
I'm not a cop. Those rooms upstairs at the restaurant could be used for gambling. I wouldn't be interested. Except that Pete Solder ran a string of gambling houses.
You're very stubborn. I'll take it off for you.
This is pretty quick, isn't it?
You're very real, Mr. Craig. Very real and disturbing.
I still think it's pretty quick.
You underestimate yourself. The world's full of little men, half-men. You're exciting.
I'm not buying.
What?
It's a nice performance, but your price tag's showing.
Well, you...
No.
Oh, my wrist.
I just as soon not be slapped. Not even by a beautiful woman. Let's get back to the gambling houses.
If you don't mind, I'll show you to the door.
You mean he's had time enough by now to get away? Yeah. Too late. The car's gone. Very nice, Mrs. Warren.
Would you please leave?
You stalled me just long enough, didn't you? To let him get out of here.
I don't know who you're talking about.
No? But Hearn did, Mrs. Warren. Hearn did. I left. Dolan didn't try to stop me. I hadn't expected him to. Out in the bay, the boats lay at anchor, rocking with the tide. The old Tyrol was still open for business. I gave it mine. Out in the restaurant, a handful of people made tired passes at food. The bar was doing better. The bartender had a very high-class assistant. Hey.
Yes, sir. What will it... Mr. Craig.
Hello, Mr. Groner.
You are back again.
Yeah. Surprised?
What is it you want now?
Let's not disturb the bartender. Let's go where we can talk.
I do not wish to go...
Sure you do. Only you don't realize it yet.
I still say...
Groner, you know where I've been?
It is not my business.
I've been visiting Mrs. Warren.
It means nothing to me. Who is Mrs. Warren?
A lady with a lawn sloping right down to the shore of the bay.
So?
Yeah.
We, go to my office.
Fine.
He's upstairs.
No objection. Right up among the storerooms, huh?
Store? Oh. Yeah.
You didn't hit those yeahs hard enough. What you really mean is that you're closed up for the night. Upstairs.
You say things which I do not understand.
Never mind.
My, office is here.
Very pretty.
You do not come to admire my office. Mr. Craig, what is it you wish to say to me?
How well did you know Joe Hearn?
I hardly knew him at all.
He stopped in every night for his beer. It must have been more than a casual thing.
No.
The cops know better.
Well, what I meant is that, of course, I knew Mr. Hearn, but not very personal, you understand.
I understand. You served him his beer tonight?
Well, yeah, an old customer.
And while he was drinking that beer, what did he tell you?
Nothing, except how the weather is and...
Yeah?
And that is all.
A couple of boys chatting about the weather. No, Groner.
What do you mean, no?
I don't like your answer.
Please,
I'm not being brutal, just making sure you stay with me. Groner, what did Hearn tell you tonight?
I'm not well. Please.
You're just beginning to feel sick. It'll get worse, Groner.
I am not concerned.
I'll tell you what you and Hearn talked about. Hearn mentioned the fact that on his way to work, he always passed the Warren estate. He told you that when he passed it last night, he saw someone go in that estate. Someone whose face he had a very good reason to remember. Isn't that what he told you?
No, I swear to you.
No? Why deny it with such excitement, Groner? Why swear to me? Because you know what it means, don't you? That's why you're so anxious to get out of it, isn't it, Groner?
I say nothing.
Let's go back to storytelling. Hearn told you that. He also told you he was going to pay a visit with a private eye. Me. Although he wasn't mentioning names, was he?
No.
Don't be so anxious to agree with me on unimportant things. Hearn finished his beer and left, and what did you do?
Nothing.
Nothing except make a little phone call to a lady, Groner.
Yeah.
They've got a funny law. Roughly, it says that if you know about a murder and don't talk, you go to the chair right alongside of the man who actually pulled the trigger.
I know about this.
Maybe you think it's unfair. You'll go right on thinking that until they shoot the high voltage through that fat body of yours.
I know nothing.
You phoned Mrs. Warren. You passed on what Hearn had told you.
Maybe I did. It is not against the law.
What did you think would happen with that information, Groner? What do you think did happen?
It is not of my doing.
They got to Hearn before I met him. He didn't die very pleasantly. I'm angry about that.
Breathe, Mr. Craig. You are hurting.
Try breathing with lungs full of blood sometimes. That hurts more. Who did Hearn tell you he saw entering Mrs. Warren's estate last night?
You let go of me. I tell you.
Thanks.
I wish that it is on the record that I did not know what will happen.
It'll be on the record. Now stop washing the blood off your hands and talk.
All right. Then I speak. The man Hearn sees who goes into the Warren estate.
Get out! Rona! Nice shooting, Dolan. Come out from behind that door. I've had a bead on it since we came into the room. The angle's wrong for you. Come out from behind that door, Dolan.
Okay.
Hold it. Drop the gun. Now, keep coming.
Hey, what?
I said keep coming to me. Or do you want to find out if I shoot straight?
Oh. I'll keep walking.
That's fine. Now stop. Turn around. Back to me. Face that door you just came out of.
Yeah.
Now, you start back to the door, Dolan.
What's the idea?
One dead private eye is enough for tonight. So we play it this way. Start walking. I'll be right behind. So if anybody gets nervous and starts shooting, I'll see to it that you don't fall down when you get shot.
You can't do this.
I'm doing it. Keep walking.
But he'll shoot.
The boy in the room you came out of? That was the idea, wasn't it? You were coming in. I was supposed to think you'd been alone. I wouldn't be watching the next room. I'd make a nice target. But I like you better as a target.
No.
Kick the door open all the way.
Okay.
Yeah. Better. Much better. Hold it, Dolan. As for you, you can try shooting it out with me. Not much of a chance for you, though. Or you can drop your gun and hope. You may stay alive a little while longer that way till a jury gets around to you. What will it be, Mr. Solder? Mr. Solder, Mr. Pete Solder, dropped his gun and surrendered to the authorities. I dropped him in Lieutenant Rogers' lap. The lieutenant dumped him in a cell, and then...
He'll keep for a while. Not too long. He's turning spoiled right now. But Pete Solder, after all these years...
Yeah.
Funny, he sneaked back into the country and might have got away with it. But the place he picks out turns out to be the one place he should have stayed away from.
He had no way of knowing Joe Hearn's route to his job, took him past Mrs. Warren's estate.
No. So Hearn saw him and what?
I'm not sure. He wanted me to come with him when he visited the Warren estate. He wouldn't tell me why.
If he'd come to us, he'd be alive now.
Yeah, but he was too bitter, I guess. He wanted to make a citizen's arrest himself. Get back to Solder for all the years, the worn-out shoes, the tiredness. It might have worked out if he hadn't talked to Gruner.
Gruner, who ran a gambling dump upstairs in his restaurant, who had a tie-in with Solder. And that was it. But, what led you to it?
Little things, mostly. Something Hearn came across on his way to work led to his death. The Warrens had figured in the reports on Solder's trial. A small boat could land on the estate without being seen. And Dolan said something about this being a night where a private eye would be edgy. But he had no way of knowing about Hearn unless he'd had a hand in his death.
Well, it's all washed up. What are you doing the rest of the night, Barrie?
Go home and... No. I earned my $25. I'm going out and spend it.
On what?
A steak. Good night, folks. See you next week.
You've been listening to William Gargan in another exciting transcribed mystery drama from the adventures of Barrie Craig, confidential investigator. Tonight's story, Death of a Private Eye, was written by Lou Vittis. Next week, it's the strange story titled Murder Island, about which Barrie Craig has this to say.
Next week, I meet a burlesque queen with a knack for unveiling corpses. a lawyer who is his own worst argument, and a gun-toting client who throws me a shroud for a fee. See you next week, folks.
Featured in the role of Mrs. Warren was Fran Collins. Barrie Craig, starring William Gargan, was under the direction of Hyman Brown. This is Don Pardo speaking.
Now enjoy Meredith Wilson's Music Room on NBC.
Welcome back. You know, there was a certain feeling of irony, a little odd here, because you had Barrie Craig facing off against a character named Dolan. It'd be like having Joe Friday drag in somebody named Pat Novak to question. This episode also features Craig getting pretty much as rough as he would ever get. Usually a pretty easygoing guy, but this is a case definitely got under his skin and felt a personal sense of honor and an obligation to solve it. And that's something that's an odd commonality among the private investigators, is this sense that a fee has to be earned, even if nobody is going to jump on you for not having earned it, and the police can't stop you and, don't have heirs to deal with. And that runs across private detective stories, from the hard-boiled private eyes right over to Nero Wolfe. A good detective doesn't want a fee that he didn't earn, and that's one of, I guess, the universal laws of the moral universe for fictional detectives, at least in the Golden Age. Well, that will do it for today. We will be back tomorrow with Rogues Gallery. Join us then. Well, before we do get started, I want to encourage you to support the great detectives of old-time radio in our first listener support effort. We're looking forward to seeing how this will go. Go to support.greatdetectives.net. All donations above $7 will receive access to our premium site. Donations of $20 or more are eligible for an additional thank you gift. At the $20 support level, you can receive your choice of 4 Colonial Radio Theater plays. Perry Mason and the Case of the Velvet Claws, their first collection of Father Brown stories, Zorro and the Pirate Raiders, or King Solomon's Mine. To highlight Zorro and the Pirate Raiders, it's a great swashbuckling adventure that brings all the excitement and romance of Zorro right to your radio. At the $50 level, you can choose from any of the Poirot productions from the BBC Radio 4, Poirot or Marple, including Elephants Can Remember and the 5 Little Pigs. Or you can also receive an autographed copy of my wife and I's book, Tales of the Dim Night. And at the $100 redemption level, or donation level, I should say, you'll receive a gift certificate to radioarchives.com, good for digital download of any of their great radio sets, which are extremely high quality, luxurious high quality. I should mention on the $20 and $50 downloads, those are actually through audible.com. And on Audible, you're not required to be a subscriber to download the audiobook. You do need to set up a username and password with them, but there's no fee for that. Additional details are available at support.greatdetectives.net, as well as a full list of all available options. Now it's time for today's episode of Rogues Gallery, Snowbound.
The F.W. Fitch Company presents Dick Powell as private investigator Richard Rogue in Rogues Gallery.
Laugh a while, let a song be your style. Use Fitch shampoo. Don't despair, use your head, save your hair. Use Fitch shampoo.
The F.W. Fitch Company, makers of Fitch's saponified coconut oil shampoo and Fitch's shaving creams, presents Dick Powell as private investigator Richard Rogue in Rogues Gallery.
Rogue speaking. Do you ever long for the bracing feel of the freezing wind on your face? hard-packed snow under your skis, and the beauty of the stately pine laboring to support the dust-dry snow on its limbs? Does your heart cry out for the tingle of the air as it swishes by your hurtling frame on a toboggan course? It doesn't? Well, neither does mine. I can't imagine what throwback impulse to a pioneering ancestor made me decide to take that vacation at a winter lodge in the mountains, but nevertheless, I did. I laughed with snow down my neck, cheered and clapped my frozen hands when some idiot risked his neck. Did all of the things required of a guest, but I didn't like it. No, I didn't. Until I saw this lovely, lovely view. She was a slow-eyed Latin. She was voluptuous, and she was at the snack bar. I just happened to sit down on the stool next to her. Give me a cup of coffee, will you, Harry, and not too much sugar?
Yes, sir.
I'd like another coffee, please, Harry.
Yes, ma'am.
Helps to thaw you out, doesn't it?
Yes, it does. I saw you on the ski course this afternoon.
Oh? Is that why you're laughing?
You came flying through the air very gracefully. Landed right by me. Threw snow all over me.
Well, I'm sorry. I didn't do it on purpose, you know. I guess I'd better take some more lessons.
Yes, I know it's impolite of me to laugh.
Oh, that's okay. That's okay. If I'm going to be laughed at, I certainly want it to be you who does the laughing.
You may come out and laugh at me in the morning. I'm going to take my first ski jump, and I know what's going to happen.
I'll be there.
One with sugar, one without.
Thanks, Harry. Oh, Harry.
Yes, sir?
Would you mind introducing me to this lovely lady?
Mr. Rogue, this lovely lady is Juanita Mansfield.
Oh,
Mr. Rogue? Are you Richard Rogue, the investigator?
That's right, the celebrated investigator. I'm very happy to know you.
Thank you.
Anybody ever tell you that your eyes are as beautiful as dark pools of fire, left but the god of love for men to scorch in? Oh, my dear, you have the cutest nose in the world.
My husband. He tells me those things every day.
Your husband?
You'll have to meet him.
I'd love to.
No, I'm mad about him.
Oh, good. Harry, there's too much sugar in this coffee.
Sorry. I'll give you another cup.
There was too much sugar in my coffee and too much sweetness in the marital situation of the lovely Juanita. There I was, all puckered up for one of those highly romantic resort friendships I'm always reading about. And there wasn't a girl in the place that abandon would dance with except Juanita. When I got up to leave, I noticed that Juanita had left her compact there on the bar. I picked it up, decided to return it to her in the dining room. I spotted her the minute I walked in. She was lovely in a white evening dress, which signaled all of the curves and soft shoulders. And her husband was a very big guy, ruggedly handsome, black wavy hair and Viking blue eyes. He was as British as St. George or the Dragon, neither of which would have impressed him. He looked vaguely familiar. I walked over to their table.
Oh, hello, Mr. Rogue.
Hello, Mrs. Mansfield. I've been looking for you.
You have? This is my husband, Mr. Rogue.
Good evening, Mr. Rogue.
How do you do, Mr. Mansfield? Juanita, here's your compact. You've left it on the bar this afternoon.
Oh, thank you. I've been looking all over for it.
Well, I come in very handy sometimes. Oh, by the way, haven't we met before, Mr. Mansfield?
I'm sure we haven't.
Funny, I think we have. You know, I never forget a face. You from Los Angeles?
Pasadena. I am, anyway. David's from England.
Well, I want to thank you for returning Juanita's compact, Mr. Rogue. It was a present from me.
I was so worried.
And now we must finish our dinner, darling. We're playing bridge in half an hour.
Oh, all right, David.
Well, good night, and good night, Mr. Mansfield. You know, I wish I could remember where it was we met before.
I'm sure you're mistaken, Mr. Rogue. We've never met.
My massive intellect was grinding exceeding fine as I returned to my table. My subconscious was flashing a message about David Mansfield. There'd been a fear in his pretty blue eyes when he saw me approaching him. I'd known him before, someplace. And his name wasn't David Mansfield. The knowledge that the guy was a phony chased itself around in my mind without ever catching up with the answer. All through dinner and through a few fast rounds with the slot machines. I have a good memory for faces, and he had a good face to remember, but I couldn't make connections. After losing a bum decision favoring the one-armed bandits, I went to my cabin, opened the door. I was trumped in clubs. Right on the back of my ear. I took an on-the-spot lesson in astronomy. Through the pink haze, I noticed that one of the stars in my orbit was beckoning to me. I looked closely. It was Juanita. I followed her timelessly until I was so tired I couldn't keep up the speed. Then I fell 1,000,000 lifetimes into peaceful oblivion. When I opened my eyes, I was on Cloud 8, my home away from home. There was an economy-sized female bending over me.
Gosh, Mr. Rogue, I didn't think you were going to stop here.
Where's Ugor? Who are you?
I'm Ugor's girlfriend, and Ugor's going to see about a marriage license.
A marriage license? What's that midget up to? He can't get married without my consent.
Oh, Mr. Rogue, you wouldn't stand in the way of true love, would you?
True love? What does that spook know about love?
Oh, Mr. Rogue. You'll give your consent, won't you, Mr. Rogue?
No.
If you don't, I'll push you over the side.
Oh, no. Let me rest up here.
Give your consent.
Never. Hey, stop pushing, you condensed minx. Cut it out.
Over the side you go, Rogie. Goodbye.
Hello, Mr. Rogue. I'm happy to see your eyes open.
Oh, well, hey. Who are you anyway, and where am I?
One question at a time. You're in my cabin, and you can call me Doc. That's as good a name as any. No, don't try to sit up. You've been pretty close to death, you know.
What's the matter with my shoulder?
You have a nice, clean wound through it. Yeah. Looked like a 32 or 38 revolver wound from a distance of maybe 25 feet.
Who shot me?
I can't tell you that. Now, just lie still. You have plenty of time to recover and ask questions.
Well, how long have I been here?
Quite a spell. Let's see. Today is today is Thursday. I picked you up at the bottom of that canyon on Tuesday. You'd been lying there unconscious, at least overnight.
Bottom of a canyon?
Yeah.
How'd I get there?
You're asking me a lot of questions I can't answer, Mr. Rogue. From the looks of your head, my opinion is that somebody knocked you out, threw you over Inspiration Point, when your fall was broken by the underbrush, shot you. You don't know who it was?
Oh, I've got a good idea. Yeah, I'm beginning to remember now. Tell me, where's Inspiration Point from Red Feather Lodge?
It's about 10 miles back into the mountains.
Oh, I guess I was supposed to be killed, huh?
That's just what you would have been if you hadn't managed to fall near one of my trap lines.
You know, Doc, you don't talk much like a trapper.
That's possible. However, I am a trapper. I like being a trapper. I'm also a prospector because I like being a prospector. No, I'll probably never find any gold, and I'll probably never be a very good trapper. But I'm living the way I want to live, and I'll bet that's more than you can say, Mr. Rose.
I like the way I live.
You're a private investigator, and I've been through your credentials. You live on violence and terror and fear and crime. Yes, and sudden death. You like that?
Well, it's exciting.
That's to cover up the fact that you're bored to death with your life, Rogue. No, there's only one way to live. That's my way. Yes, alone.
You saved my life then, didn't you, Doc?
Yes. If I hadn't found you and brought you here and treated you, you would have frozen to death out there if you hadn't died of your wounds. Yes, I saved your life, but you don't owe me anything for that. You'd probably be better off dead. Most people would.
Well, that's a great philosophy. How did you arrive at that?
I lived like you do once. As a matter of fact, I lived like you do for many years. I was a physician, which is a very fortunate thing for you. Oh, I couldn't stand the people. All of them striving to be smarter, more successful, more ruthless than their immediate friends. All of them scheming and plotting and lying and cheating to pile up money, which they never live to enjoy because they're burned out by the time they're 50.
You know, you sound a little antisocial, Doc. But if you don't mind, I'm hungry.
Huh? Oh, yes, of course. I'm sorry, Mr. Rogue. It's been so long since I've had anybody to talk with. I've been chattering like a magpie. Huh?
Oh, no. It's been very interesting, but I'm...
Broth.
Yes.
Yes, I have some broth for you. Strengthening. We'll have you built up to fine shape by the time you're able to leave here, Mr. Rogue.
Oh, but look, Doc. I've got to get out of here right away.
No. I'm afraid not, Rogue. It's been snowing for 5 days. We're snowed in here.
Snowed in?
It'll be weeks before I can get you out of here, Mr. Rogue.
We'll continue our story in just a moment. First, men, these warm spring days are probably finding you out on the golf course, the ball diamond, or the tennis court. Remember, these active sports often cause perspiration and unpleasant scalp odors to cling to the hair, odors that a hasty shower in the clubhouse won't remove. To do a quick yet thorough job, try Fitch's saponified coconut oil shampoo. It forms lots of lather instantly to cleanse away dust, dirt, perspiration, and unpleasant scalp odors from your hair. The lather rinses out quickly and easily, too, so your shampoo is done in a jiffy. And men, Fitch's saponified coconut oil shampoo is made from pure natural oils. You can use it as often as you like, and it won't leave your hair dry or unruly, but always well-groomed, fresh, and clean. Fitch's saponified coconut oil shampoo is available at drug and toilet goods counters, or you can have a professional application at your barber shop. Now back to Dick Powell as Private Investigator Richard Rogue in Rogue's Gallery.
I couldn't figure out whether my benefactor Doc was as daffy as a red hearse or as wise as a barn full of owls. But he was a talker, and he was a good doctor. In 2 weeks, I was as full of health as a Boy Scout camp and as full of conversation as a book of plays. Doc shoveled his way out of his shack, mounted me on snowshoes, and helped me over the 20 miles that was as glistening white as the top of a wedding cake. When we came inside of the Red Feather Lodge, Doc said goodbye. I managed to swagger into the lobby of the hotel. I was freshly shaved, and Doc had cleaned the blood from my shirt and jacket and mended them. In fact, I looked quite presentable. The clerk uncovered his teeth in professional welcome as I walked up to the desk.
Well, Mr. Rogue. Glad to have you back.
I should think you would be. Wasn't anybody worried about me?
Worried?
Yes. I left rather suddenly, didn't I?
Well, yes, but we know people in your business get called away.
Called away?
Yes, I took the call myself.
Oh?
What's the matter, Mr. Rogue? Why are you looking at me that way? Surely you received your baggage at your office.
Look, There seems to be something the matter with my memory. Just what happened?
Why, you called. You told us you'd send a check to cover your bill and asked us to please send your luggage to your office in Los Angeles as soon as the check arrived. We did just that. Only it wasn't a check you sent, it was a money order.
Oh, I see. Yeah, I remember it all now. Oh, by the way, is David Mansfield still here?
Oh, no. Mr. and Mrs. Mansfield checked out. Must have been about 3 weeks ago.
Any forwarding address?
Oh, yes, I'll get it for you in just a moment, Mr. Rogue.
He gave me the forwarding address. It was in South Pasadena. I copied it in my little black book and took the hotel bus into town, where I caught a train for Los Angeles. The wheels in my head clicked it out with the wheels on the train, in a rhythm that soon lulled me to sleep in spite of my determination to stay awake and figure my next move. The porter awakened me when we pulled into Los Angeles, and I gathered myself for a taxi trip to my apartment. I grabbed the newspaper on my way to the cab to check up on what the world had been doing without me. And the first headline to catch my eye was a story about the murder of a Dorothy Grandy, a model I knew slightly. She'd been stabbed to death in her apartment. The phone was ringing when I got to my apartment. Rogue speaking.
Hello, Richard. This is Eve Fulton.
Oh, well. Hello, Eve. What goes?
Dottie Granby. You remember her?
Yeah, sure.
She's been murdered.
Well, I know that. I just saw it in the paper.
Well, she and I were living together at the Magnolia Arms. The police are here. Please come over.
Well, look, Eve, I just got into town.
Please, Richard, I'll pay you.
Oh, yeah, sure. No, all right. I'll be right over. I went over because I'd always liked Eve, and because I don't approve of beautiful girls being murdered, and because I knew Detective Lieutenant Urban of Homicide would be there. I wanted to see Urban. I did. When I opened the door, he was waiting for me.
Well, Rogie, this time we found the body. Where have you been?
I was out of town. Hello, Eve.
Hello, Richard.
You know the murdered girl?
No, well, yes, slightly.
Who would have wanted to kill her?
How do I know? If you'll just give me a few minutes, I might be able to tell you.
How well did you know her?
Why, Inspector, you don't think that
Ask him to go away, Richard. I want to talk with you alone.
If you have anything to say, young lady, you'd better say it to the police.
I'm representing this girl, Urban.
What does she need representation for? She wasn't under suspicion.
You mean she is now?
Well, if she didn't do it, why would she want you to represent her?
Well, maybe she wants the guilty man caught. You ever think of that?
You'd better come down to headquarters and see me after a while, Rogie.
Well, I intended to do that anyway. I got a little something I want to talk to you about.
Good. I'll be seeing you then. And you, young lady, don't be making any plans for leaving town, understand?
All right. I'm not going anyplace.
In about an hour, Rogie.
Yeah, it's your office, huh?
Oh, I'm so glad he's gone. Oh, Richard, hold me.
No, Eve. Who did it?
I don't know, Richard. Honestly, I don't. Oh, I'm so glad you came right over. I needed you.
What's Dorothy been up to lately that might get her killed?
I don't know. But she's been up to something. You know how she was. Closed mouth and kind of mercenary.
Yeah, I remember. Go away, will you? If not, go away. We got a murder on our hands. Look, tell me, what's Dorothy been mixed up in?
Well, she's been spending a lot of money lately. I mean, things like mink coats. She's always wanted one. She got one about 3 weeks ago, and, all kinds of expensive things.
Oh, you, think she's been putting the bite on somebody?
I don't know what to think, Richard. She and I had an awful fight a couple of nights ago. The police found out about it from the neighbors, and I'm afraid they're going to think I killed her. But I couldn't kill anybody.
Okay. If you didn't do it, I'm going to have to find out who did. Got any money?
Yes, I can pay you, Richard.
Give me $200, and I'll let you know when you owe me more.
Oh, all right.
I'll take the $200 now. In the meantime, I'd like to take a look around the joint.
Well, I'll get it for you if you really want it.
I do. Who's Dottie been romancing lately?
Oh, she's been playing the field. There was one Argentine fellow that she was with a lot, and more than any of the others, I guess, but he hasn't been with her much lately. He decided he liked me better.
Oh. Is that what you and Dottie fought about?
Well, yes.
What was this Latin type's name?
Eduardo Lopez. He's a millionaire.
Oh, wow. Hey, Hey, come here. What's this?
Those wedding pictures.
Yeah. Who's the big blonde groom?
Well, that's Dottie's husband. They hadn't lived together for years.
Oh? They were still married?
Yeah. She was always talking about getting a divorce, but she never did. You met him, Richard. Remember a couple of years ago? Before you got mad at me. He was with Dottie one night when you came up after me. He played hearts. Remember?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I remember, yeah. You got the $200?
Yeah, here it is. I can't afford any more, Richard. You'll represent me for the 200, won't you?
Oh, sure. I'm a very big-hearted guy. I won't be needing any more money from you, honey. On account of I'm just about to solve a murder.
We'll return to our story in just a moment. First, a word to the ladies. You know how spring winds stir up dust and dirt and can cause perspiration to cling to the hair. This combination can imperil the daintiness and freshness of your hair. However, regular use of Fitch's saponified coconut oil shampoo will always keep your hair sweet-smelling and clean. Fitch's saponified shampoo is made from mild coconut and pure vegetable oils. It makes mountains of fluffy, fragrant lather that floats away the dust, oily film, and perspiration from your hair. Then, when you rinse, a patented rinsing agent contained right in the shampoo comes to your aid. This rinsing agent works with the plain rinse water to ensure sparkling clean hair, undimmed by a dull, soapy film. Your hair is left radiantly lustrous and delicately fragrant. Guard the charm and beauty of your hair by using Fitch's saponified coconut oil shampoo regularly. Fitch is spelled F-I-T-C-H. Now back to Dick Powell as private investigator Richard Rogue in Rogue's Gallery.
I left Eve Fulton's apartment, dropped by homicide headquarters for a chat with Urban, but he wasn't there. So I left him a note and went out to the Mansfield address in South Pasadena. It was a beautiful home, set back in a kind of park. There was a circular driveway up to the front door, but I parked out on the street. I wanted time to work up plenty of hate before I hit that front door. Mrs. Mansfield answered the door herself.
What? Why, Mr. Rogue.
Oh, surprised to see me, huh? I want to talk with you and your husband.
You can't come in here.
Oh, you're a punk fortune teller, Juanita. Look out, here I come. Where is that pretty husband of yours?
He isn't home. Please, don't point that gun at me.
Where is he?
I don't know. He's out. I don't know when he'll come back.
No kidding. Well, I'll just wait if you don't mind, or if you do. I want to have a talk with him.
Just walk right in here, Mr. Rogue.
Come on. I won't botch the job this time. Drop your gun.
You know, you're a difficult man to get rid of, Mr. Rogue.
Huh? Oh, I suppose you know, Juanita, your husband tried to kill me back of Red Feather Lodge.
Yes, he told me just a few days ago. He told me you were dead. He was afraid you'd come between us. You knew something.
Yeah, I'm afraid I'm quite a disappointment to him. As a matter of fact, to you both.
Really, Mr. Rogue, I'm quite surprised to see you. How on earth did you ever get back here? I was certain that you were done in before I left you up there.
Well, it's a long story, Mansfield. It wouldn't interest you. I want to talk to you about something else.
Yes?
Yes. You know, I finally remembered where it was I met you, David.
Indeed?
Yes. You were married at the time to a girl named Dorothy Granby, but not working at it. I was dating a roommate, Eve Fulton. We played hearts together, and you gave me the Queen of Spades 3 times, and I've hated you ever since.
I know of that early, foolish marriage of David's, Mr. Rogue.
Which one of you killed her?
What makes you think either of us did?
She was blackmailing you, wasn't she? Your marriage to Juanita wasn't legal. You'd never been divorced from Dorothy Granby. Dorothy found out about your fortunate marriage, and she was putting a bite on you for money, blackmailing you. She milked you for plenty, and finally you had to kill her, didn't you?
I didn't kill her.
Oh, you know, I can get an indictment against you in 20 minutes with your record and the facts in the case. You're going to die of cyanide poisoning, Mansfield. I'm going to arrange it.
I didn't kill her. I didn't.
I killed her, David.
Juanita, you don't know what you're saying.
I know very well what I'm saying, darling. I followed her home to her apartment, and I killed her. We promised each other nothing could ever come between us. I killed her for us. Now we're free.
You're not quite free of me, though, Juanita.
That's a matter of our convenience, however, Mr. Rogue.
Yeah, I suppose that's right. You've got the gun.
You tried to kill him once, David, to save our happiness. Now...
Yes, dear. But first, I'm interested, Mr. Rogue, in just how you learned all you know about us.
I wouldn't want you to die uninformed, David. I found a wedding picture of you and Dorothy in her desk at the scene of the murder. You were a blonde then. That was before you dyed your hair. You were without mustache, and you were a lot fatter. But I never forget a face, Mansfield. The minute I saw that picture, I knew why you'd been so frightened when I met you at the Red Feather Lodge.
That's unfortunate. Let's go for a little ride in your car, shall we, Mr. Rogue?
Uh-huh, of course. Oh, you love each other very much, you two, don't you?
Very much, Mr. Rogue.
I think it would be awfully nice if you could have a double execution.
It's going to be a pleasure to finish you, Rogue. Come on.
Oh, don't be a patsy, Mansfield. This dame's a murderess. She's going to pay for it.
Shut up.
And if you take a shot at me, you're going to pay with her. You're inside the law now.
Don't listen to him, David.
Don't come any closer, Rogue.
You want to take that walk with her? Through that little green door? Into that glassed-in room with the green chair and the gas that makes you choke and die?
I haven't killed anybody.
Give me the gun, Mansfield.
I haven't killed anybody, Rogue.
No, give it to me. I'll kill him. David.
I shot her. Juanita.
Yeah. Come here, pretty boy. Broke my hand. Well, that was the end of the case. David Mansfield tried to kill me in the mountains because he thought I might remember him and ruin his marriage with Juanita's bankroll. Instead of staying dead, I came back and killed two birds with one stone, in a matter of speaking. I caught a murderess. Juanita lived for her execution, and David won't be out of the pen in time to vote for the 40th president. And oh, by the way, I saw my hermit friend, Doc, a couple of weeks ago. He's living at the Beverly Hills Hotel. Yeah. In a suite of 5 rooms. Found gold up in them thar hills and gave up hermiting. He's getting married next week to a lovely widow with 5 children. Oh, there's nothing like living alone and liking it. You know what I mean? This is Dick Powell again, ladies and gentlemen. Hope you enjoyed our story tonight. Ray Buffum wrote it. Leith Stevens composed and conducted the music, and Dee Engelbach produced and directed. Be with us again next week, will you? We have a story for you about a birthday party, a locked penthouse, and a homicide. We call it The Impossible Murder. Thanks for listening, and now here's Jim Doyle.
Be sure to tune in next week, same time, same station, when you will again hear Dick Powell as private investigator Richard Rogue in Rogue's Gallery.
Laugh a while, let a song be your style. Use Fitch shampoo.
After and between Fitch shampoos, you can keep your hair shining and manageable by using a few drops of Fitch's Ideal Hair Tonic every day. Fitch's Ideal Hair Tonic is not sticky or greasy, yet it gives your hair that well-groomed look.
Welcome back. You know, Rogue's subconscious is a scary place. His subconscious getting a girlfriend. And for once, no Gerald Moore on the show. Maybe Moore had moved on by this point. I should mention there were 3 more episodes between The Message and this episode. Stormy Nights, Headline Murder, and The Case of the Forgetful Bride. And now we're actually going to have 4 straight weeks of shows back to back for Mr. Rogue as we work through the series. We now do turn to listener comment and feedback. And a simple vote on Podcast Alley. I love the podcast. Well, I'm glad you're enjoying it out there. And that'll actually do it for today. If you have a comment, email it to me, box13 at greatdetectives.net. Remember to support the great detectives of old-time radio during our listener support campaign between now and September 10th. Support.greatdetectives.net. Become one of our friends on Facebook, facebook.com/radiodetectives. And we'll see you back here next week, another episode of Rogues Gallery. And we'll also be announcing next week some of the new shows you will see in our next season on Tuesday. So you want to be listening to that. But join us tomorrow for Let George Do It. Well, before we get started, I want to encourage you to support our show support effort. So we experiment with listener support and see if we can have more success that way than we have with some of the affiliate arrangements we've made. Go to support.greatdetectives.net and leave a tip. And all tips of $7 or more get access to our premium site. And then above and beyond that can obtain one additional thank you gift based on the size of the donation. For $20, we'll send you a link to get an audio download of a great modern colonial radio theater drama. Our highlighted options include Perry Mason and the Case of the Velvet Claws, Father Brown Mysteries, Zorro and the Pirate Raiders, and King Solomon's Mine. At the $50 level, we'll send you digital downloads for some of the BBC4 radio plays with Poirot or Marple. Any of the ones that are available and that we can send you from Audible, we'll go ahead and we'll do that. Also, for fans of Let George Do It, at the $50 level, we can also send you, instead of Poirot or Marple, a gift certificate to Radio Archives that's sufficient to purchase a copy of Let George Do It Volume 4. Now, this includes 12 great episodes of Let George Do It in high-fidelity audio. However, 2 of these episodes are not in circulation anywhere else, so you can enjoy Triple Jeopardy and Spring Session, 2 more adventures with George Valentine, and that's at the $50 level. You can also get an autographed copy of Tales of the Dim Night. At the $100 level, we'll send a larger certificate to Radio Archives, which can allow you to get any of their digital download sets. Our main method of donation is by PayPal, but if you prefer not to pay online, you can also send a money order. Just email me at box13@greatdetectives.net, and I'll be happy to provide an address. Well, with that said, let's get into today's episode of Let George Do It. Picture with a black frame.
Personal notice, danger's my stock and trade. If the job's too tough for you to handle, you got a job for me, George Valentine. Write full details.
Standard Oil Company of California, on behalf of independent Chevron gas stations and standard stations throughout the West, invites you to Let George Do It. Picture with a black frame, another adventure of George Valentine.
Dear Mr. Valentine, here is the opportunity of a lifetime. And this is not an advertisement. You probably have had your eye on a beautiful new car that you've always wanted. Or there's some high dramatic blonde that you've never quite been able to afford. Or maybe it's just a trip to Europe that you'd like to have. Well, my friend, you're going to have them all. Yes, sir, each and every one. Or whatever else you'd like to purchase with the biggest chunk of lettuce you ever saw. That lettuce is going to be yours, Mr. Valentine. You can just take your murder cases and stack them in the closet when you've heard what I've got to say. Because, Valentine, I got a proposition with bells on it. Bells that ring. Francis P. Bodgett, art photographs. That's my line. What was that?
Maybe I'd better get back to my typing.
Now, honey, listen to what I have to say. Every man has a vocation and an avocation. His business and his pleasure.
But you've tried to combine yours.
Don't get me wrong. I'm a legitimate photographer. Artistic shots of your home and kiddies with family groups especially.
Yeah, I'll keep it in mind.
And when it comes a Sunday and the normal busman is taking a holiday, where am I? Out at the country club taking pictures.
Family group.
Valentine, listen to me. Sunday I take a picture, see, because this... He says there's a couple of newlyweds over there behind the potted palm dancing with themselves. Take a picture. And so what do I say? 2 8x10's $5.
And you're going to give me 40%, that's $2.
Detective, I take the picture and I developed it last night. And now I got a print right here. You see, it's not just a routine picture. Because now I catch on. It's not just routine people.
You mean the newlyweds?
Honey, you just said yourself a misnomer. That's what they're not. Now, the man, I'm not too sure about him. He didn't come out too clear. But the girl, well, there's something. Of course, the photograph doesn't convey the pearls by Cartier, the dress like Eider Down, or perfume...
Why don't you please stop talking and say something?
Tonemaker. That's something, isn't it?
Tonemaker?
Like in the Blue Book, honey. Like in stocks and bonds. Like in the biggest marble palace with millions and millions and millions. The girl's a Tonemaker. Now you get me?
Yes. Yes, I think I'm finally beginning
Or
to.
at least she is going to be shortly. And that's the point. Her name is Lydia, and she's going to marry Whitley Tonemaker. She's staying out at their place now, according to the society page. Oh, it's an understatement to say that little Lydia was displeased when I slapped this photo of her. So intimate with somebody else. Displeased. She practically chased me a mile before I got away. There, honey, now I can see the light of understanding on your lovely face.
You certainly do. It's blackmail. That's what your picture is. Just something to blackmail somebody named Lydia with.
No, don't get Victorian on me.
Sure, Brooksy, let's hear the rest of it.
But, George,
no,
this
I'm always interested in a good proposition. Where do I fit in?
Every man has his limitations. This marble Tonemaker palace isn't so easy to crash. And in my case, well, I could maybe use a little more polish or respectability.
You can say that again.
You want me to front for the job, is that
You've
it?
driven the nail clear through the board. That's it.
Well, come on, partner. Let's see the picture.
Well, I do have it right here.
Yeah, but that's only the print. Where's the negative?
Not so fast. My place is down at the Bedford.
You didn't bring it, huh? Well, okay, hold up the print. I can't see it.
But first we got to work out an agreement. Get away from there.
Oh, let me see it. I don't know.
No, not until you've agreed to...
Look out,
Hey,
you're
that's an
carrying
open
it.
window, Buster.
There. Scatter to the bird.
All right. So you tear it up and throw it out.
You shouldn't be so grabby, partner.
Why don't you cool off? I'm with you. I suppose you tell me who asked you to take that picture in the first place, huh?
Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe you're not the type to confide in.
You're right, friend. I'm more the type for...
Hey, cut it out. Now, don't.
Now, get out of here, you two tight pin.
All right, so I'm wrong. Lay off.
Well, what a nice character.
Yeah. Brooksy, I think I'd better trot over and crash that Tonemaker Palace. This girl, Lydia, may need a little warning.
With that thing loose, I'll say she does. Wait till I get my hat.
You're not going, just me.
But
You've got a
it-
job picking up the pieces of that photograph down on the street, Angel. Happy jigsaw.
Lydia? Lydia? Why should you wish to see her, young man? Where did you meet her?
Mother, for heaven's sakes, what's all the noise?
Whitley, will you please throw this young man out?
Oh, now, wait a minute. Hello there.
Is your name Whitley Tonemaker?
Yes, that's right. Wick, generally. And yours?
George Valentine.
I see. Oh, well, Mother, Cousin Mel's in there waiting for a decision on the steel
I
investment.
came here to see Lydia, Mr. Tonemaker.
Oh.
There, you see. Now, will you throw him out?
Mother, please. What's it about, Valentine?
Well, let's say that I'm a reporter from a magazine. I understand you and this Lydia are going to be married.
There's been no official announcement, Mr. Valentine. I've already warned the society editors to say nothing about this.
Yes, we're going to be married in the next couple of weeks, maybe. What about it?
Well, several things. For instance, Lydia what? I don't even have a full name yet.
It's Tonemaker.
It's what?
That's right, Tonemaker, just like my name. You see, Lydia happens to be my younger brother Tony's... his widow.
Oh, I didn't understand.
Ha! Oh, no, not much. Can't you just see the nice, fancy story?
Mother,
that he'll
stop it. There's no reason Lydia can't make her own statements. Valentine, she's in the music room downstairs.
Quickly? I'm the head of this house.
What's holding everything up?
The Steel Corporation is waiting for a decision, and here you are, all jabbering about that unimportant little tramp.
Melvin, I've already told you what to tell those people.
Get out here, will you, Valentine?
Sure.
Quite a place, isn't it, Mr. Valentine? No bars on the windows, of course.
Yeah. You're certain there isn't a chaperone listening in?
Oh, this is my free time. We're quite alone. I assure you, I was also alone last Sunday. I wasn't at any country clubs having my picture taken.
Mm-hmm. You weren't, huh?
No.
All right, Mrs. Tonamaker,
The name's Lydia. You don't believe me, do you? Oh, well, what difference does it make?
Look here, Lydia.
You came to warn me, and I appreciate it. Mr. Valentine, do you know that I was never in this crazy place until a month ago?
But I thought you were formally married
I was married to Tony, but that was all in the East, because Tony was the black sheep of the family. That was also several years ago. Tony died in 1947.
Oh, I see.
I loved Tony. I never met his family. They'd practically disowned each other. I probably never would have met them, except that, well, his brother Wickley came back east on business. And he was very nice to me. Very thoughtful and,
Well, one thing led to another.
Don't be nasty. Wick's a wonderful person. He just made the wrong choice in me, that's all.
Look, clear it up, will you?
I'm a tramp, Mr. Valentine. And instead of the Tonamaker tribe being burned once, it should happen twice.
They don't approve of you?
Do you ever approve of gold-digging widows, of your own drinking children?
Oh, Tony drank, huh?
He was pretty hopeless, I'm afraid. He wasn't nearly the person Wick is. He died that way. Now, when I want to salvage something of my life with a very wonderful man, I find that no one approves. Wick's mother, cousin Melvin, the family lawyers. All they care about is trying to prove to Wick that I'm not eligible, that I wear lipstick and speak to strange men.
They want to break this up because they blame you for Tony's death?
You understate it so badly, Mr. Valentine. You see, I murdered Tony.
You what?
Yes, indeed. Sure, I poured him full of drinks and pushed his car over a cliff. Of course, the police could never prove it. I was much too clever for that.
Now, look, lady, will you...
But the motive was all there. It was money. Tony's piddling little trust fund. I'm the little tramp who broke into the palace grounds by marrying the black sheep. But once I'm through the Tonamaker fence, of course, I have to get rid of the little one and go for the big ones. Wickley, no less, the head of the family, the richest of them all. The one who builds the trust fund.
Don't stop doodling on that thing, will you? So that's what they think. And it wouldn't make any difference if you happen to love Wick now, I suppose.
Do I? Mr. Valentine, at this point, I'm really not sure that I care what any of the Tonamakers tried.
No, you don't care, do you? Like you don't care that Wick's not the head of the family.
He'll stand up to them. I know he will. His old crone of a mother and his nasty-minded cousin.
Will he if it turns out you're running around with somebody else? If it were ever found out that a picture was taken of you for blackmail purposes? Now, come on. Who were you with last Sunday?
For the last time, I tell you, nobody. Only, I am upset. I'm very stiff. I received a telephone call this morning. A man's voice said I should come to room 12 at a place called the Bedford.
The Bedford?
Yeah.
Hey, wait a minute. That's where Budget said his place was.
Budget?
Yeah, the photographer I told you about. Come on, what else?
Oh, that's all. Just that it was important and I should be there alone. Only I'm afraid to. I thought it must be some kind of blackmail. I'd certainly be willing to pay to keep anything from poor Wick. Only I don't know what it is they could have. Really, I don't.
But you'd like to find out, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
Because you think it's probably a frame. Well, okay, Lydia, let's find out. Let's walk right into it, see what the picture is.
Mr. Valentine, thanks. Come on. Leave your car so they'll think we're still here. I'll take one of theirs. I can drive.
Bedford, huh? Not much of a place, is it?
It's dark in the corridor. Yes, that's 10.
Yeah. Must be over here on the right. So give me a lighter.
Yeah. There it is. 12.
Well, take it easy. People roll out the red carpet for this kind of business proposition. I guess we're early.
I don't hear anyone.
Well, there's got to be some lights on that wall.
I can't seem to find it. Mr. Valentine.
Now, that was just me fumbling with the lighter. What the...
Hey. Just a little flash bulb, that's all, folks. That Birdy won't hurt you. It'll be a beautiful picture, I'm sure. Many thanks to both of you.
Sergeant, where are you, Tuck?
He got away. Flashed, I couldn't see a thing. That was him?
Yeah, that was him, all right. Here's the lighter.
Well, this isn't his place. It can't be.
No, but he took his picture. And I guess now you are in trouble. You and me and an empty hotel room. We didn't just walk into this frame, lady. We dived in head first.
We'll return to tonight's adventure of George Valentine in just a moment. If your car has an automatic transmission, you'll be glad to know that you can get it properly serviced at standard stations and independent Chevron gas stations. These service stations have the correct transmission fluid that's approved by the manufacturer of your car. Equally important, the men here are specially trained in the care of an automatic transmission. And don't think it doesn't require special care, for that transmission is a precision-built unit. The smallest amount of dirt could damage its mechanism. The wrong fluid level would be harmful, too. And to keep this vital unit in good working order, you should have it checked every 1,000 miles. Also, at regular intervals, it should be drained and refilled. Ask for this Car Saver service at independent Chevron gas stations and standard stations where they say and mean, we take better care of your car. Now, back to tonight's adventure of George Valentine. You didn't just walk into a frame-up, you dived in head first. You and Lydia Tonemaker went to a certain address to find out just what kind of a blackmail offer was going to be made to her, just what kind of an incriminating picture they had of Lydia. And what happened? Of course, the picture was taken right then and there, a picture of the two of you that he used for blackmail. Needless to say, if your name is George Valentine, this is not the sort of thing that is easy to explain to Claire Brooks or to Lieutenant Riley.
No. Don't even try. We understand.
Okay, so I'm a sucker. Okay,
And
now will you
don't
please...
make up excuses, George. You must have looked cute.
All right, go on. Have fun. But that girl's in the spot, I tell you.
I should hope to say so. A man with your reputation.
Riley, will you please?
All right. The Bedford, you say, Valentine?
Yes, that's the same place Bodgett told us his shop was.
Well, there's New Bedford, Old Bedford, Bedford Uptown, and several others. But it only took us about 5 minutes of checking to find out that none of those places ever even heard about it.
Well, look, Riley, I had no reason to check. At least we know he's a photographer.
We can't find anybody who knows anything about it.
The first time I saw him, I was too interested in getting a look at the picture he'd already taken.
Would you really like to see that first picture, George?
Oh, would I?
Huh?
Hey, Brooksy, you don't mean you found all those pieces?
Well, there's still some gaps, but I think you can tell what the picture was. The one he persuaded us was so important.
Huh? Oh. Good shot, isn't it? Man and a woman.
Yes, sir. Eddie Lamar and Victor McCall.
Yes, I recognize him.
Sucker, I believe that was the way you so perceptibly described yourself.
So the whole thing has been a frame. Bodgett's letter is coming to see us. Everything was just a come-on.
Well, I guess so. To get us interested and get you out there.
And to shake Lydia loose from being so careful, so decorous for the sake of that family, and walk right into it with me.
Pretty feeble, though, isn't it?
Feeble?
Yeah, sure. What can Bodgett do with a picture like that one of you two? The girl won't pay anything for it.
She might lose a lot of happiness from it. I told you what's going on in the Tonemaker dynasty. Everybody trying to break up her marriage to Wick.
George, one of those people must have hired Bodgett.
Yes, Angel. All I have to do is find out who hired him. Or else kick myself out of town. You weren't so easy to locate, Lydia.
Oh, the Valentine. Have one of these. Bartender.
No thanks. What happened? They throw you out already?
I walked right out by myself. Why shouldn't I? I'm a gone woman now.
All right, rub it in.
Wasn't your fault. There are certain ways a murderess and gold digger's supposed to act. And I've been so careful not to act any of them. Soap and water girl, strictly. Ever since I came here from the East, I've walked the little old-fashioned line.
Looks more like a line of old fashions now.
Oh, yeah, now I'm different. Look at me. Eyeshadow, French makeup. Smell. Black orchids, imported. A huzzy's a huzzy, Mr. Valentine. Bring me another one, bartender.
Hey, wait a minute. Look, you don't really want it, do you?
I don't even like the taste. I'm just sick and tired of
What's the matter with that sissy boyfriend? Didn't you tell Wick what happened? Did you explain to him?
I couldn't even talk to him alone. Mother wanted him. The family conference on the steel industry.
Why do you waste your time in the first place on a guy like that?
Because I'm a conniving little tramp, that's why. I'm out after money. I've crashed the gate, now I'm trying to get control of the whole Tonamaker Empire. The whole silly... Oh. Man enough to knock your block off 5 times.
All right, I'm sorry.
Wicky's just... Oh, well...
Change the subject. Who hired Budget?
Figured that out, too, huh? Ah, what difference does it make?
If you married Wick, the whole inheritance picture of the Tonamaker Empire would change. Probably lots of people would like to see him stay a bachelor the rest of his life.
I'm sure all of them would. So what? Whoever did it has plans for the picture. That's the important thing. The entire family's been involved in a conference for most of the day. They want to see me in half an hour.
You want to bet they've already seen that picture of us?
Of course they have.
So don't worry, Lydia. I'll be there in a half hour, too. But with some facts. If I can find them. Hi, Sergeant. Can you tell me? Hey, Riley.
Oh, hello, Valentine. Say, I sent the Tonamakers the picture. Did you see it?
What are you talking about?
George, Lieutenant Riley found the pictures of one of you and Lydia.
Yeah?
He sent it out to the Tonamaker house.
You did what, Riley? Why?
Give here, Valentine. Right in here. You bet I did, friend. Oh, this isn't just a little photo game anymore. I wanted to start the explosion. Here he is. Look.
Budget.
That's right, my friend. We found him all right for you. Dead.
Where?
The alley near the Tonamaker place. Shot 3 times with a .32. A print of the picture was crumpled up in his pocket. Still wet.
So the little hired tintype had to be moved out of the way, huh? All right, Riley, come on.
Huh? Come on where?
You're going to be a character witness to take off my frame. Only it won't be in a hurry to tell the good people about the Black Border.
And that's exactly what happened at the Bedford, ladies and gentlemen. That explains the picture.
Oh, I don't believe it. Not one word of it.
Mrs. Tonamaker, Mr. Valentine hadn't even met your daughter-in-law until this morning.
You will please not refer to her as my daughter-in-law.
Mother, stop it, will you?
I don't see why she should. I agree with her, Wickley.
Shut up. Shut up, all of you.
Wickley.
You've all been trying to stop me from marrying Lydia ever since I met her. You've tried every dirty trick you could think of.
Wickley, stop that this minute.
I guess it might have worked, all your propaganda against her. I was beginning to doubt myself. But now that some one of you actually exposed all of your cards by this cheap, transparent, phony attempt at compromising Lydia with Mr. Valentine...
I'm not so convinced yet.
You yourself thought she might have actually murdered Tony back in 47.
I did not. It was you who made me think that, Melvin. And now I'll bet it was you who hired that photographer.
Budget? Never even heard of him. Just can't find him. Ask him.
You can't, my friends. He's dead. Yeah, that's right. Well, I guess we might as well tell him now, Riley. Yeah, Budget, the photographer, was murdered.
Is that so, Lieutenant?
Yeah, that's right.
Now, suppose he was murdered by a member of the Tonamaker family. By the person who hired him, so nobody could ever find out who hired him. Or maybe he wanted too much money for the job. I don't know.
Now, see here, Mr. Valentine.
Never mind. I think I've seen all I need. Thanks very much. Now I'll go get Lydia. You won't mind waiting. You got called plenty of names by the others, Lydia.
Gold digger? Murderer?
Oh, sure. The works.
Told you Wickley was a man. He'd stand up.
Go on playing, will you, Lydia? Lydia, whoever hired Bodgett did a crazy thing. Or, at least I thought so at first. He picked me.
What?
Now, why pick me for a patsy? To be framed in that picture with you. Well, you see, I finally caught on. They needed somebody who'd be able to break past the guard in this crazy house. Somebody who'd be stubborn enough to get sore after it all happened and then, like I just did, come up to tell them all off. Explain just what a transparent, cheap attempt it was.
Why? You wanted the picture to be convincing. You were trying to keep Wickley from marrying the little tramp.
Lydia, when they called you all those names, gold digger, murderess, you know what I said?
What, Mr. Valentine?
I said nothing.
What's that?
I didn't agree because I saw it all so clearly, Lydia. Why the picture frame-up had to be arranged so transparently. Because timid little Wickley had to see right through it. He wouldn't let his dirty old family do a thing like that, no sirree. And would he ever believe that one of them hadn't hired Bodgett? Not in a million years. He'd just defy everybody, including his own better judgment, and marry you.
I just completely don't understand.
You hired Bodgett, sister. You said you'd never seen the little man before. You also told me you hadn't been wearing perfume since you came to live with the stuffy Tonamakers. And yet he knew enough about you to mention that your perfume had something to do with orchids. And it does. Black orchids.
All the ridiculous
Where'd you know him? New York? Did he by any chance help you get rid of the first Tonamaker back in 1947?
Just like all the rest of them. I didn't kill Tony.
I don't even care whether you did. But you killed Bodgett, didn't you? You had to, I suppose. A guy who knew that much about you.
No, I didn't.
Because you arranged the frame, sister. No doubt about that. In this town, there's a New Bedford, Old Bedford, Bedford Uptown. And yet somehow you drove us straight to the right one. Sure, you and Bodgett had already picked it. So of course you knew where to go.
Stop it.
And you're the one who benefits.
No.
Crash the gates, marry another Tomac.
Wait.
Well, it's a closed plan, Lydia.
No.
Yeah, they hold conferences all day. And so they all end up with alibis for Bodgett's murder. And where does that leave you?
Please,
Out wandering around alone. Oh, no, you don't, sister. Get away from there. Get away from that first.
Let go of me. Let go of me, you ugly, flat-footed beast.
I know. Go ahead. Call me names like you call yourself. Best way to look innocent is to walk right into it. Kid about your own guilt. Well, you walked into it this time, Lydia. But good. Yeah, she just fell apart, Angel. Even admitted killing Tony. Riley's writing it all down.
Well, it just shows what happens when a girl gets ambitious, doesn't it?
It sure does. So, just let that be a lesson to you, Brooksy. Well, the only thing that bothers me is...
Hold it, neighbors.
Hey!
There you are. Thanks very much. Here's your card. Mail it in to me.
What the name of heaven is that?
Snappy photo service made in the card. That's all you have.
Hey, did that guy just
George,
take...
now stop. He didn't do anything. He just took our picture. A nice, intimate shot. Sterling arm in arm.
Hey, give me that card.
No. Maybe I want to get ambitious someday.
Huh?
Wait till I show it to my family, darling.
What makes a car grow old? What makes it lose its pep and power? Well, one of the biggest threats to your car's youth is gum. Gum that makes engine parts stick. This gum is caused by impurities that are found in most raw gasoline. The only way to get rid of these impurities is to refine them out. And Chevron Supreme is the gasoline that is super refined to eliminate gum. Just try a tankful tomorrow. Chevron Supreme gasoline will give you that new car feeling. You'll notice how your car starts faster, how much more peppy it is in traffic, and how it gives you new ping-free power on hills. Another thing you can depend on from this premium quality gasoline is full mileage in the kind of driving you do. So ask for super refined Chevron Supreme and enjoy again that new car feeling. Ask for it at standard stations and independent Chevron gas stations where they say and mean, we take better care of your car. Adventure of George Valentine has been brought to you by Standard Oil Company of California on behalf of independent Chevron gas stations and standard stations throughout the West. Robert Bailey is starred as George with Virginia Gregg as Brooksy. Wally Mayer appears as Lieutenant Riley. Let George Do It is written by David Victor and Jackson Gillis and directed by Don Clark. Joe Forte was heard as Bodgett, Louise Arthur as Lydia, Lorene Tuttle as Mrs. Tonamaker, Jack Edwards as Wickley, and Paul McVeigh as Melvin. The music is composed and presented by Eddie Dunstetter. Your announcer, John Heaston. If you've been putting off your contribution to the 1950 Cancer Crusade, the time is now, as time is short. Please mail your contribution today to Cancer, care of your local post office. Listen again next week, same time, same station, to Let George Do It. This is the Mutual Don Lee Broadcasting System.
Welcome back. Well, it's good to hear Wally Mayer back as Lieutenant Riley. It's been a while and a lot of substitutions. As I mentioned, Mayer was in declining health, so there are a lot of gaps in the appearance of Lieutenant Riley versus others filling in. Beyond that, I thought it was a great performance by Miss Arthur, who did an outstanding job creating this character, very deceptive, very manipulative. And I didn't fully realize what was going on until I think Valentine did, which was a few minutes before he lowered the boom and realized what happened. Really played with the audience's mind. So they did a good job in creating this sense of mystery here and kind of turning our expectations on our head. Because we don't really want to be sympathetic or to think that the patrician family was innocent, but it turned out in this case, at least in terms of the crime, that they were. By the way, I mentioned yesterday we're going to be announcing the shows that are going to be added for next season. I want to take advantage of this. That's next week. I want to take advantage of this just to let you know that Wednesday through Friday are going to remain absolutely the same. No changes whatsoever. Also, I want to announce we've added another series to our long list of shows that we would like to do someday, and that is Easy Money. This is kind of a hidden gem. It was a 1954-55 radio program, so really the twilight of the radio era, but a very good show that mixes some mystery and some education as well, in following a detective in his never-ending battle against the rackets, particularly the gambling rackets. So we're adding to the list Easy Money. And for those of you with the app or the premium side, you can take a listen to Easy Money to sample that show that we will eventually end up doing. All right, well, that'll do it for today. We will be back tomorrow with Sherlock Holmes. Before we do get started, I want to encourage you to take part in our listener support campaign. Go to support.greatdetectives.net. All donations over $7 receive access to our premium site, And donations of $20 and up are eligible for one additional thank you gift. At the $20 level, you can receive one of 4 great colonial radio theater audio dramas. These are modernly produced dramas, really well acted, great sound effects. And the 4 choices that we highlight are Perry Mason and the Case of the Velvet Claws, the Father Brown Mysteries, Zorro and the Pirate Raiders, and King Solomon's Mine. And particularly, the Father Brown Mysteries are very faithful adaptations. Classic mysteries. They did a great job on them. I enjoyed them, and I think you will as well. At the $50 level, we will be happy to send you one of the Marple or Poirot BBC4 audio dramas. I'll highlight 5 Little Pigs and Elephants Can Remember. But any of the ones that are available on Audible that we can send to you, we'll certainly do that. Or you can also get a copy of autographed copy mailed to me of your book, Tales of the Dim Night. And at the $100 level, we'll provide a gift certificate to radioarchives.com, with which you can purchase any of the great digital download old-time radio sets. They have many that run to 10 hours, including some detective stories, The Big Show, Fibber, McGee, and Molly. Just go to support.greatdetectives.net and make your donation today. The deadline is September the 10th. Well, now it's time for today's episode of Sherlock Holmes, The Adventure of the Speckled Band.
Kreml Hair Tonic and Kreml Shampoo present the new adventures of Sherlock Holmes, starring Nigel Bruce as Dr. Watson and Tom Conway as Sherlock Holmes. Now, here we are once again in Dr. Watson's study. Good evening, Dr. Watson.
Good evening, Mr. Bell.
What incident are you going to tell us about this evening, Dr. Watson?
Well, now, I haven't quite decided. Supposing we... What was that? Oh, the fire. Top log has fallen off. Where did I put that poker? Oh, here it is. There we go. Ah, that's better.
Oh, what a curious old poker, Dr. Watson. It looks as though it had been seen many years of service.
Yeah, so it has, my dear fellow, so it has. It belonged to Sherlock Holmes himself in the days when we were sharing rooms in Baker Street. You know, I think I could do no better than to tell you the particular incident that poker recalls to my mind.
Well, please do.
I can't recall any case which presented more singular features than that which we always referred to as the adventure of the Speckled Band.
Speckled Band? What does that mean, Dr. Watson?
We'll get to that in a minute, Mr. Bell. But first...
Men, hot summer days are with us again. And after a day spent under a hot, broiling sun, does your hair look as stiff as straw, dry, matted, or tangled? Does the humidity make it stringy and look rumpled and unattractive? Then don't make the mistake of plastering your hair down with greasy, sticky goo. Instead, put Kreml Hair Tonic on the job. Kreml is that famous modern hair tonic, such a wonderful, natural-looking hairdressing. Kreml has just enough light oils to keep dry, stringy hair neatly groomed throughout the hottest, stickiest day. Yet Kreml never leaves the hair looking or feeling greasy. It never leaves any unpleasant odor. Kreml always feels clean on both hair and scalp. You see, Kreml is able to give you all these advantages because it contains a special combination of hair grooming ingredients which is found in no other hair tonic. So men, make Kreml a daily must this summer for that handsome, clean-cut look from morning till night. Kreml, Kreml Hair Tonic. Now, Dr. Watson, how about the adventure of the Speckled Band?
It was early one April morning, very early, I might say. Holmes, as you doubtless know, was a notoriously late riser. So you can imagine my surprise to find him standing fully dressed on the side of my bed.
Watson, I say, Watson, wake up. Watson, old fellow, if you don't manage to wake up immediately, I shall be obliged to empty the contents of this water pitcher over you.
What's up? Is there a fire?
No, a client.
Oh, client?
Quite so. A client. It's a girl, a rather charming-looking girl. She's waiting in the sitting room now.
Sure?
Yeah, I'll open the door crack so you can take a look at her.
Lady dressed in black and so heavily veiled that you can't tell a thing about her. Where's my other slipper?
On the contrary, my dear Watson, we can gather a great deal about her. Here's your slipper on the table where you left it last night as a paperweight. Your tie, your good tie, is on the third shelf behind Boswell's Life of Johnson. I presume that's the one you want, inasmuch as it's the one you always wear when you wish to make an impression on one of the opposite sex.
Don't be silly, old man.
But to return to the young lady, she left home very early this morning, came by train, and yet she had a good drive in a dog cart along heavy roads before she reached the station.
Holmes, you're trying to be uncanny again.
Not at all, my dear Watson. It's as plain as the nose on your face. The left arm of her jacket is patted with mud. There's no vehicle save a dog cart which throws up mud in that disgusting way. As for the train journey, I observed the second half of a return ticket in the palm of her left glove.
Oh, I never even saw it.
Oh, yes, you did, Watson. You merely did not notice it.
Well, that's all very interesting, but I think we've kept the young lady waiting long enough. Shall we go into her?
By all means. You go first. You're certain to create the more favorable impression.
Oh, thanks very much. Good morning.
Oh, is this Mr. Sherlock Holmes?
I'm that gentleman. This is my intimate friend and associate, Dr. Watson.
How do you do?
You may speak freely before him.
Oh, I see.
Won't you sit down by the fire? I observe that you're shivering.
No, thank you. It's not the cold that makes me shiver.
Oh? What then?
This fear, Mr. Holmes. This terror. I can stand this strain no longer. I had to come to you.
I shall be happy, madam, to devote myself to your case if you'll just lay before us everything that may help us in forming an opinion on the matter.
My name is Helen Stoner. I'm living with my stepfather, who is the last survivor of the Roylotts of Stoke Moran, an old Saxon
Oh,
family.
I say, Holmes, I heard of him. He's a doctor, isn't he? Went out to Calcutta.
Yes, that is my stepfather.
Oh.
While in India, he married my mother, the young widow of Major General Stoner. My sister Julia and I were twins. We were only 2 at the time of the marriage.
You were brought up in India then?
No, Dr. Roylott was forced to return to this country due to a scandal.
Scandal? Oh, really?
Watson, don't interrupt.
Well, what a scandal was it?
Shortly after that, my mother died, leaving about £2,000 a year to Dr. Roylott as long as we, my sister and I, resided with him. However, in the event of our marriage, we were to receive $550 a year apiece.
And did either of you marry?
No. As a matter of fact, after Mother's death, a terrible change came over Dr. Roylott. He quarreled violently with everyone in the neighborhood, so that we were left almost entirely to ourselves. His only friends are a band of wandering gypsies whom he permits to encamp on the property from time to time. He also has a passion for Indian animals.
That's tolerant.
At this moment, he owns a cheetah and a baboon.
Not very cheerful surroundings for 2 young women.
Oh, one gets used to things. The only person we were allowed to visit was a sister of Mother's. While Julia was there, she met the man to whom she became engaged.
I see, and of course your stepfather objected violently.
No, surprisingly enough, he did not.
Oh?
He offered no objections whatever to the marriage.
But I thought that you said that neither of you had ever married.
So I did, Dr. Watson. Julia did not marry because within a fortnight of the day which had been fixed for the wedding, she died.
Died?
Yes, Mr. Holmes. Under the most horrible circumstances.
Can you describe this unfortunate event in detail?
Oh, yes, Mr. Holmes. Every second of that dread time is seared in my memory. The bedrooms at Stoke Moran are on the ground floor. They open off a common passage. Of these bedrooms, the first is Dr. Roylott's, the second my sister's, and the third my own.
I see.
There's no communication between them. Do I make myself clear?
Perfectly so.
The windows of the 3 rooms open out on the lawn. This fatal night, we'd all gone to our rooms early, having carefully locked our bedroom doors on account of the cheetah and a baboon, which were allowed to wander about at will. Suddenly, as I was about to blow out my light, I heard Julia knocking at my door.
Helen, are you awake? May I come in?
Oh, just a minute, I'll unlock the door. Oh, Julia, you look as pale as a sheet. What's the matter?
Oh, nothing. At least, nothing I can put my finger on. Maybe it's the wind and the rain. Oh, lock the door, Helen.
I'm afraid. Afraid? Whatever of? Well, I really don't know. I feel what the Irish call say, as though death were lurking around the corner. Something seems to keep trying to warn me.
Oh, nonsense, Julia. You're upset. Perhaps the excitement over your wedding. Why aren't you asleep?
Well, I can't. Father keeps pacing up and down next door. But it's not that. It's what? Tell me, Helen. Have you ever heard anyone whistle in the dead of night?
Never.
I don't suppose it could be you in your sleep.
Oh, Julia, don't be absurd.
Well, the last few nights I've heard it. A low, clear whistle, about 3 a.m. And for some reason, it seems to be warning me.
Well, it might be those wretched gypsies in the plantation.
Oh, probably. And yet, if it were on the lawn, I wonder that you didn't hear it, too.
Oh, you know how soundly I sleep.
Oh, well, I'm probably being very foolish. I'll go back to bed and let you get some sleep. Helen?
Yes, what is it?
Would you mind standing here until you hear me lock my door?
Of course not, silly.
Well, good night.
Good night, you goose. There. Gracious, she's getting jumpy. She'll be glad when she's safely married.
Listen to that wind. What was that?
Nothing. I'm getting as nervous as Julia. I hope nothing. Julia! Julia, what's the matter? There was a whistle. I heard it. Julia! Julia, open the door! Julia! Julia, what's happened? Don't stagger like that, darling. I'm coming to you.
It's the band. The Speckled band.
Julia! Julia, what do you mean? Oh, merciful heaven, she's having convulsions. Father! Father, help! Help!
And what was found in your sister's room?
That's the strange part. Nothing. Absolutely nothing. The windows were barred by old-fashioned shutters with broad iron bars, and the door was locked on the inside. My sister was alone when she met her doom.
Any marks of violence?
None.
What about poison?
The doctors examined her for it, but without success. It's my belief that my sister died of fright. Pure fright.
When did all this happen?
About 2 years ago.
And why do you come to me at this late date?
Well, I myself am expecting to be married shortly to a man I've known for many years. 2 days ago, some repairs were started in the west wing of the building, so that I've been forced to move into the room where my sister died. Sleep in the very bed in which she slept. Imagine, then, my thrill of terror when last night, as I lay awake thinking over her terrible fate, I suddenly heard the low whistle which heralded her death.
Good gracious me.
Quiet, Watson.
I jumped up, lit the light, but could find nothing. I came straight to you as soon as it was daylight.
If we were to come down to Stoke Moran today, would it be possible to look over these rooms without the knowledge of your stepfather?
He spoke of coming into town today on some important business. It's probable that he will be away all day.
Excellent. You may expect us then, sometime this afternoon, if that is convenient.
Oh, yes. Oh, thank you so very much. I shall look forward to seeing you again this afternoon. Goodbye, Jessica.
Goodbye. Well, my dear Holmes, what do you think of it all? What do you make of the sister's dying words, the speckled band?
It may merely have been the effect of delirium. Or it may have referred to the band of gypsies who sometimes wear spotted kerchiefs. Then, again, it may be something much more deadly. Dear, someone seems to be very anxious to see us. Come in.
Which of you is Holmes?
That is my name, sir.
I am Dr. Grimesby Roylott of Stoke Moran.
Indeed. Pray take a seat.
I will do nothing of the kind. My stepdaughter has been here. I traced her. What did she say to you?
It's a little cold for this time of year.
You put me off, do you? I've heard of you before. You're Holmes, the meddler. Holmes, the busybody. Holmes, the Scotland Yard jack-in-office.
My dear doctor, all this does not alter the fact that it is still decidedly chilly. I seem to feel a draught. Would you mind closing the door from the outside?
I will go when I've had my say. Don't meddle with my affairs. You'll find I'm a dangerous man to fall foul of. Look here.
Look out, Holmes. He's got the poker.
Watch this.
Say, Holmes, he's bent our poker almost double.
My dear fellow, give me that poker. I really can't allow you, sir, to go around breaking up our little household, even if you are a good 40 pounds heavier than I am. Allow me.
Good heavens, Holmes, you've straightened the blasted thing out again.
Well, I'll... Just the same. Look out for me. Both of you.
Charming fellow.
Quite. And now, Watson, breakfast. Then I have 1 or 2 errands to do. After that, suppose you meet me at Waterloo Station at about 11:30.
Right you are, Holmes. I'll be there on the dot.
And you might slip your service revolver into your pocket. It's an excellent argument with a gentleman who can twist pokers into knots.
In just a moment, we'll see what awaits Sherlock Holmes and Dr. Watson on their visit to Dr. Roylett's home, Stoke Moran. Are you one of the many men who find it difficult to keep your hair neatly groomed in summer? Does the burning sun bake and scorch your hair, making it look messy and not the least attractive? Then try Kreml Hair Tonic. Just notice the amazing change in the appearance of your hair. You see, Kreml does lots more than just keep your hair looking handsome. This highly specialized hair tonic gives you your money's worth. It contains a unique combination of hair grooming ingredients which is found in no other hair tonic. Kreml is simply great to lubricate a dry scalp. And if the sun dries your hair so that it breaks off and falls, Kreml helps condition the hair in that it leaves it feeling so much softer and more pliable when you comb it. At the same time, Kreml removes itchy, loose dandruff and leaves the scalp feeling so cool, refreshed, and alive. So be smart, men. Buy a bottle of Kreml at any drug counter. Ask for an application at your barber shop. Use Kreml daily for better groomed hair, a more hygienic scalp. Kreml, Kreml Hair Tonic. Now, Dr. Watson, you were to meet Sherlock Holmes at Waterloo Station. Is that right?
Quite right, Mr. Bell. And an hour or so afterwards, found us walking in a country lane. Got a match, Holmes? What a perfect day for a walk in the country.
I'm glad you enjoyed.
Isn't that a house poking its head above those trees over there?
Yes, that must be Stoke Moran, the home of our genial friend, Dr. Roylott. I fancy we'll find it shorter to go across the field, and safer in case the good doctor has returned home.
Yes, there's a stile over there where the lady is walking.
And the lady, I fancy, is Miss Stoner. Oh, no, my dear Watson, don't try to vault the fence. Remember, you're getting a bit plump.
Oh, rubbish.
Better climb the stile sedately, as I'm doing. That's it.
Good afternoon, Miss Stoner. You see, we've been as good as our word.
I've been waiting so eagerly for you. Everything has turned out splendidly. Dr. Roylett has gone to town, and I don't expect him back before evening.
We had the pleasure of making the good doctor's acquaintance.
Good heavens, he follows me? What will he say when he returns?
You must lock yourself in your room tonight. If he is violent, we shall take you to your aunt's at Harrow.
Don't you think we'd better be getting on with our business before that appalling fellow comes crashing home?
Quite. Handsome old house. I see you're doing some repairs.
Yes. This is the wall of my own room that they're working on.
Quite. By the way, this wall seems to be in pretty good condition. And this, the center room, was your sister's, I take it?
Yes. I'm sleeping there for the present. We can enter it by way of the French window.
First of all, if you'll be good enough to go inside and lower the iron shutter, I'd like to see just how impregnable it is.
Oh, certainly, Mr. Holmes. Just a moment.
Yes. It seems to be quite impassable. You may raise it again. May we come in?
Please do. This is the room, just as she used to have it.
Chest of drawers, bed, dressing table, 2 wicker chairs. Nothing very extraordinary, huh? Wait a minute. I say the bed's nailed to the floor. It's immovable.
I never noticed that.
The long cord. It's a bell pull, isn't it?
Yes.
What does it communicate with?
The housekeeper's room. But I don't think my sister ever used it.
It seems newer than the other things.
Yes, it was put up about 2 years ago.
Do you mind if I give it a pull?
Certainly not.
Uh-huh. As I thought. It's a dummy.
Dummy? You mean that it won't ring?
No, Watson, it definitely won't ring. It's not even attached to a wire. Very interesting. It seems to be securely fastened just above the opening of that little ventilator.
Oh, that ventilator was built several years ago, too. It goes into Father's room.
I see. Suppose we take a peek at the doctor's room.
Certainly. Come this way.
I wish you'd hurry, Holmes. I'm getting a bit jumpy. What if the doctor should decide to come home?
This is my father's room.
Nothing very exciting in here, just the usual man's bedroom, except for the safe. You don't by any chance know what he keeps in there, do you, Miss Stoner?
Oh, business papers, I think. I've only seen the inside of it once, and that was some years ago.
There isn't a cat in it by any chance.
No. What a strange idea.
Well, look at the saucer of milk.
No, we don't keep a cat. But, of course, there's a cheetah and a baboon.
Say, Holmes, look here at this vicious-looking little whip.
Yes, I noticed that. The interesting point is that it is curled upon itself and tied so as to make a small noose of whipcord.
Hello? What's that? I thought I heard a carriage. Yes, by Jove. Must be the doctor coming home.
Go, please. Quickly, before he finds you here.
First of all, promise to do as I tell you. Your life may depend on it.
I'll do whatever you say.
Dr. Watson and I must spend the night in your room.
Mr. Holmes.
Let me explain. We will hide at the lower end of the meadow. We can see your window from there. You must lock yourself in on pretense of a headache. When you hear your father retire to his room for the night, open the shutters of your window. Put your lamp there as a signal to us, and then withdraw into the room you used to occupy. The rest you must leave in our hands.
Yes, I will. Only please go now. No, not that way. Here, through the window.
Say, Holmes, do we have to wait in this blasted meadow all night? I'm chilled to the bone in this wind. Why can't we go down to the inn? I'm sure we can see the windows of Stoke Moran just as well from there.
Impossible, Watson. When the time comes, we must go, and go quickly. A human life may depend on the speed with which we can reach the house.
I say, you give me the creeps. What's that? Look, you see it? There in the bushes. A ghastly misshapen figure.
Must have been the baboon. Look, Watson. The middle window.
By Jove, it's our signal.
The lamp. Come along. Hurry. And walk quietly.
So dark, I can hardly see her. I think there'll be a storm coming. Just listen to that wind.
Here we are. Step inside through the window. No noise. I shall sit on the bed. You sit in that chair. Ready? I'm going to turn out the lamp.
I say, Holmes.
Shh. The least sound would be fatal to our plans. Have you your revolver handy?
Yes.
Good. Whatever you do, don't go to sleep. Your life may depend on it.
$11:00.
Yes. We're in for a long and dreadful vigil.
Holmes, my foot's beginning to go to sleep.
Whatever you do, don't move. That wicker chair makes an infernal racket.
Holmes, do you hear that? There it is again. You don't suppose this place is haunted, do you?
That, I fancy, is the cheetah. Look, Watson. Ventilator. A gleam of light. Now it's gone again. Wait. Things are beginning to move. Quiet now. What's that? Quick! Strike a match! Strike a match, Watson! There it is, the filthy thing. There! Take that! And that!
Holmes, what is it? For the love of heaven, why are you slashing at that bell pull with your whip?
You saw it, Watson? You saw it? Aha, my friend. Too late. Ah, how ghastly, how perfectly vile.
No! Holmes, what does that mean?
It means that it's all over, and I think for the best. Come, we shall enter Dr. Roylett's room. Keep your pistol handy. Come quickly.
Holmes, the door's locked.
Break it in. Wait, I'll help you. Now then, 1, 2, 3.
Holmes. Holmes, look! On the floor, the doctor. He's dead. Good heavens. What a ghastly look on his face.
As I expected.
Do you see that? The band round his forehead?
That, Watson, is the speckled band.
Great thunder! It's moving! It's a snake!
Yes, a swamp adder. The deadliest snake in India. The doctor died within 10 seconds of being bitten. Here, hand me that dog whip with the noose. Look out, Watson. Don't go near. That's better.
Hey, what are you going to do?
The noose goes over the reptile's head, so. And we lift it into the safe. So, and close the door.
I think I'm going to be sick.
No wonder. The doctor's thrust his little playfellow through that ventilator for the last time, I fancy.
But look here, Holmes. I still don't quite understand.
It's all quite simple, my dear Watson. Amazingly simple. Our good doctor made use of the reptile to remove his stepdaughter when she threatened to get married and deprive him of her income. That snake has been living in the safe for some time, I imagine. The saucer of milk was its daily ration.
Yes, but how did he succeed? I mean, by what method?
Look at that chair. He must have been standing on that chair. Notice the heel marks, Watson. He thrust the slimy thing through the ventilator into the next room, being careful not to touch it with his hands, but to use the whip, as you saw me do. It was the noose on the lash of the whip that convinced me this afternoon that we were on the right track.
I see. That was why the bell pull was attached to the ventilator in the other room, so that the snake could crawl down.
Exactly. And that was why the bed was nailed within reach of the bell pull.
Oh, the filthy beast.
The first attempt was not successful in the case of either sister. The doctor, fearing this might happen, had trained the adder to return when he whistled, so that he could try again.
And then it must have been his whistle we heard when you began slashing at the bell pull.
Quite, my dear Watson. When he heard us, he wanted to recall it. But it was too late. The reptile had already thrust its venomous head through the ventilator when I began to slash at it. The snake turned back so enraged that it attacked the first thing it came in contact with, which, by mere coincidence, happened to be its master.
But look here, Holmes. Doesn't that make you indirectly responsible for the death of Dr. Roylott?
Possibly, my dear Watson, possibly. But I cannot say that it is likely to weigh very heavily upon my conscience.
Ladies, here's a sensational beauty tip direct from Hollywood. When you want your hair to look its radiant best for an important date, just do this the night before. Give your hair a 10-minute glamour bath with Kreml shampoo.
I certainly agree with that, Mr. Bell. And you know, Kreml shampoo is the same shampoo used by those famous beauties, the Powers models.
Kreml shampoo has been especially developed to glamour bathe each tiny strand of hair so that it fairly radiates natural, dazzling highlights. It leaves the hair simply gleaming with natural glossy luster. And what's more, your hair stays that way for days.
And please bear in mind that Kreml shampoo is not a soapless shampoo. It is not a cream shampoo. It's not a drying detergent. Not a harsh soap. It's entirely different.
Yes, Kreml shampoo uncovers all the natural highlights that lie concealed in every woman's hair. Yet it never dries the hair. In fact, Kreml shampoo has a built-in oil base which helps keep the hair from becoming dry or brittle. It removes dandruff flakes the first time you use it.
Kreml shampoo whips up a luxuriant, active foam, even in the hardest water. It rinses out so easily and never leaves any dull, soapy film.
So, ladies, why not buy a bottle of Kreml shampoo at any drug counter and glamour bathe your hair to a vision of tantalizing loveliness? Kreml, Kreml shampoo. Now, Dr. Watson, what about next week?
Well, now, let me see. Next week, I think I'll tell you a most bizarre and extraordinary story about a murder that was committed under our very eyes in our own flat.
In Baker Street? Good heavens, that certainly was unusual.
Not only was murder committed, but the murderer was later acquitted in court. If it hadn't been for Holmes's brilliant detective work, I'll tell you all about that next week. I call it The Adventure of the Innocent Murderess.
Tonight's Sherlock Holmes adventure was adapted from Sir Arthur Conan Doyle's story, The Speckled Band. Nigel Bruce appeared by permission of Universal International Pictures. Tom Conway through the courtesy of Eagle Lion Pictures. The Sherlock Holmes series is produced by Tom McKnight with original music composed and conducted by Alex Steinert. This is Joseph Bell speaking for Kreml Hair Tonic and Kreml Shampoo and inviting you to be with us next week at this same time when Dr. Watson will tell us about the adventure of the innocent murderess. Full-time civilians, part-time sailors. That's a thumbnail sketch of the Naval Air Reserve, which this week celebrates its first post-war birthday. 30,000 strong Naval Air Reserve stands ready to man the carriers and the planes of the reserve fleet, should any national emergency arise. We doff our hats to the reserves of naval aviation, the officers and men of Naval Air Reserve on this, their first post-war birthday. This is ABC, the American Broadcasting Company.
Welcome back. You know, this has got to be one of the most popular Sherlock Holmes story to adapt. This was in the Rathbone Bruce series, and there are more radio adaptations, and there was a silent film adaptation and an early U.S. television version as well of the Speckled Band, and it's so fascinating, I think, because it's by every definition, it's this sort of monstrous act. You know, to do that to any young woman is a horrible thing, but to do it to one who the flashback at her calling the doctor father. To do it to somebody who views you as a father, that's just totally monstrous. And I guess the payoff in the end, where it comes back on him, is part of the appeal of this episode. Well, that will do it today. We will be back tomorrow with yours truly, Johnny Dollar. Well, before we do get started, I do want to remind you about our show support campaign, and I'll keep this a bit shorter than we have been doing the last few days. We're running a show support campaign to see if, in the absence of a formal sponsorship program, we can just run the show on listener support. So you can give a donation to help out the show at support.greatdetectives.net. All donations appreciated, and donations above $7 receive access to our premium site, and all donations of $20 or more are eligible for an additional free audio download. You can read about all your options over at support.greatdetectives.net. And I'll just highlight one. At the $20 level, you're eligible for the Colonial Radio Theater's production of King Solomon's Mines, which is one of several options. This is just a fantastic radio play. And it's a classic work that's kind of getting forgotten, and Hollywood always seems to have trouble getting it right. But the audio, they really take it there back to the 19th century. It's a modern audio production put out by the good folks at the Colonial Radio Theater, and it is one of your options. A complete list is available at support.greatdetectives.net. Now it's time for today's episode, The Birdy Baskerville Matter.
From Hollywood, it's time now for Edmund O'Brien as...
Johnny Dollar. Philip Martin, Johnny, I've got a job for you.
Fine. What is it?
Mr. Carl Baskerville is insured with us.
I've heard the name.
Retired, wealthy.
That's the best way.
His brother is the beneficiary. Baskerville called us a little while ago and said he wanted the money to go to a charity in case of his death.
What made him change his mind?
He thinks his brother's out to kill him.
That's charming. What do you want me to do?
Insured for $500,000, Johnny.
You just made me a bodyguard.
At least until we found out how true Baskerville's story is. We did some checking. 6 years ago, he sent his brother William to prison for absconding with company funds. William was released from state prison a week ago.
Oh, yeah. That's where I've heard the name. I remember the case.
Oh, it's a strange setup. Sends his brother to jail, names him as beneficiary. Wants it changed because he says his brother's going to kill him.
Cain and Abel really started something, didn't they?
Edmund O'Brien in the transcribed adventure of the man with the action-packed expense account. America's fabulous freelance insurance investigator.
Yours truly, Johnny Dollar. Expense account submitted by Special Investigator Johnny Dollar to Home Office, Columbia All Risk Insurance Company, Hartford, Connecticut. The following is an accounting of expenditures during my investigation of the Baskerville matter. Expense account item 1, 3887, train fare and incidentals between Hartford and New York, after receiving from you the necessary information concerning Mr. Carl Baskerville. Expense account item 2, 750, cab fare between Grand Central and Baskerville's home on Long Island. The house was set back from the road, hidden by tall trees, and surrounded by several acres of well-kept lawns and gardens. I walked up the long gravel path to the front door and knocked. I lit a cigarette and waited. The afternoon sun was warm on the back of my neck, and the air smelled of wet grass and bright flowers. Yes? I turned around to see the biggest man since Goliath. He was close to 7 feet and must have weighed in at about 280. He was nice-looking and wearing a well-cut blue suit, probably made from the best part of a tent.
Can I do something for you?
Bend over. I'm getting a stiff neck. I'm Johnny Dollar. I'm here representing...
Oh, yes, Columbia All Risk. They called and said you were on your way. Come in. I'm Mr. Baskerville's personal secretary. Mr. Baskerville is expecting you.
The big man led the way through the big house, through the big French doors that opened on the big garden. Carl Baskerville was sitting in a chair, feeding the birds. He was reaching his late 50s with the sour look of a man that didn't want to. As he tossed the breadcrumbs out on the gravel walk, a big diamond on his little finger flashed in the sun.
Mr. Baskerville.
Oh, Collins. Who's that with you?
The man from the insurance company.
Pull up a chair and sit down, young man.
Thanks.
What's your name?
Dollar, Johnny Dollar, Mr. Baskerville.
Ah, it's your company called, eh? I'm just feeding the little birds. There, Birdy. Birdy! I've been doing it some time now.
Well.
What are you standing around for, Collins? I want to talk to Mr. Dollar in private.
Oh, yes. If you need me, I'll be in the study.
I won't need you.
Yes.
How tall is he?
6 feet 9 inches. He's been with me for some time. I've been retired for 5 years, Mr. Dollar. I always wanted to spend my afternoons in the garden feeding the birds. I used to get up at 6 and go to work, and have breakfast and look out of that window right over there. I used to see the little birds. I always said that someday I'd spend my afternoons out here feeding the little fellow.
Glad you made it.
I got it.
Mr. Baskerville, I was sent here.
I know why you were sent. Sit down. Mr. Dollar, I'm 57. I spent most of my life making money, making a success of myself. Success in terms of what you consider success.
That's an interesting statement.
How is it? Why do you say that?
How do you know what I consider the norm of success?
Isn't money important to you?
Sure, it has to be.
How important?
Very, but not all important.
Well, what else is important to you, Mr. Dollar?
A lot of things.
Don't be evasive. Tell me something.
A philosophy.
Oh, philosophy. What kind of a philosophy?
Not taking people for granted.
Oh, I see. Here, you feed the birds for a while. Go on. Makes you feel real good.
Sure. Here, Birdy. Birdy.
Oh, that's fine.
Get a load of that one. He thinks he's a pheasant.
Yes, he's a greedy one. He always does that.
A lot like people, aren't they?
I suppose you know about my brother, Mr. Dollar?
William Baskerville worked for you 6 years ago. Supposedly took some company funds.
He definitely took some. $100,000.
Sent to state prison for 10 years. Was paroled last week after serving 6.
You're insured with Columbia all risk for $500,000, and your brother is the beneficiary.
That is correct.
Now you want to change.
That is again correct.
Tell me some more about your brother?
Well, your company's worried. Is that it?
$500,000 worth.
I suppose you consider it strange I'd send my brother to prison, then make him my beneficiary.
I guess strange is a good word.
I don't particularly care if you believe this or not, but I hated to prosecute my brother. But he was guilty, and it became more than just a family matter. There were stockholders to be considered, and his guilt was discovered before I could do anything. You're not too Bird.
I'm out of crumbs.
Oh, here. Take some right here. Now feed that little fellow right there. Who's the timid one? He doesn't get as much as the other. You know, you're right about them being like people. The timid ones never get enough and generally fall by the wayside.
You made your brother your beneficiary, and now you want to change it.
Well, only as a precaution. With my money out of the way, perhaps William will think twice before he attempts anything foolish. I'm having my will changed, too. You see, I originally left my entire estate to him.
What makes you think he might try?
This letter. This is...
Okay. I spent 5 years knitting you, but I learned a trade. I used it drawing blueprints for your shroud.
Poor William always did go for the dramatic.
When'd you get this?
I got it yesterday. It's the first I've heard from William since he left prison.
Well, we'll never get a Pulitzer Award.
Yeah, William always did go in for the dramatic. Since boyhood, he's envied my get up and go. We never got along. It was even too much for my poor mother. She died very young.
Probably overworked from knitting straitjackets.
What's that? Don't be flippant, young man. That was uncalled for.
Yeah, I guess it was. I have a strange habit of getting flippant when I get confused. I'm confused, Mr. Baskerville.
Well, William is the last of the Baskervilles. Hothead, childish, weak, and insecure. But he's a Baskerville. If he kills me, he'll be caught. If he doesn't gain by my untimely death, he may reconsider. I still have hopes of a reconversion,
The regeneration of a Baskerville.
If you will. Perhaps when he calms down, forgets his last 6 years, we'll talk. And then I plan on renaming him as my sole heir. Are you still confused, Mr. Dollar?
You haven't contacted him?
I told you didn't know where I was.
Somebody out looking for him?
Of course not. Why?
Because I think somebody should be. If you're going to remove the temptation, it might be a good idea to inform William. How's he going to know he's been momentarily disinherited?
Man?
Yes, Mr. Baskerville?
Well, I must admit.
If you don't want to call the police, I'd suggest a private detective.
Yes, but there's no telling how much time.
Better than feeding the birds. Can you think of anyone who might know where your brother is?
The girl, before William went to prison. I'm not even sure she's still in New York.
What's her name?
Carter. Virginia Carter. Lived someplace in the village. I only met her once 6 years ago.
And hire yourself a good private detective in a hurry and tell him about this Virginia Carter. She might know where William is.
All right.
In the meantime, I'd recommend that the change of beneficiary be hurried up.
Oh, I'm getting tired. I'm finished feeding my bird.
Yeah, sure.
Good day, Mr. Dollar.
Oh, here. I had a few crumbs left over.
Oh, well, thank you. Hey, Birdy. Birdy!
I left him sitting with his friend. He'd have one good deed to take along with him. I went back through the French doors and started back through the house. I got as far as the hallway. Baskerville. Oh, swell. He was sitting in the chair with a bullet hole just over his heart. His head was resting on his chest, and he still held the breadcrumbs in his hand. He seemed to be smiling like he knew he was going to be able to feed the birds for a long time.
Mr. Baskerville! Mr. Baskerville! Good Lord.
Where were you?
What?
Where were you?
In the library. I heard the shot. I saw William.
Where?
Over there at the far end of the garden. He had a gun. He turned and ran.
That's all homicide.
Benner's homicide.
Lieutenant, this is Johnny Dollar.
Well, hello. Haven't heard from you in a month.
I've got a killing for you.
Oh.
I'm out at the Baskerville estate.
the Baskerville?
He used to be Carl Baskerville. He was shot a few minutes ago in his garden.
Oh, William did it. I saw William with a gun.
What?
Baskerville's secretary says he saw William Baskerville with a gun.
The brother? The one who just got out of state?
That's right. I'm here because Carl thought William was going to kill him. He showed me a letter. Holy...
A letter?
Get out here. I think I just made the mistake of my career. He shoved Collins aside and ran back out in the garden. Baskerville was still smiling, and things looked about the same. I went through his coat pockets and found what I was looking for. Nothing. The threatening letter from William was gone. I went back in the library faster than I'd come out. I remembered what Baskerville had said about a girl named Carter. I grabbed a phone book on a wild hunch and started looking up the Carters in Greenwich. Only one Virginia in that part of town, so I said a quiet prayer to the gods that be, visioned my employer's reaction when they found out their investigator had been on hand when they lost a cool $500,000, and called a cab in the hopes that I might at least save half the face. I told Collins not to touch anything and to wait for Lieutenant Brennan. Expense count item 3, $8.75 cab fare to Greenwich Village. It was a long shot, but it could be the same girl that had known Martin. I went up the stairs of an old brownstone and knocked on the door. When it finally opened, I got the quickest scalding in history. She was wearing something thin enough to make a silkworm hang himself.
Yes?
I bet you had a hard time finding something to wear in July.
I'm not cold-blooded. What's on your mind?
I'd like to know about William Baskerville.
Oh, that one. I haven't seen him in years.
Maybe you've got a picture of him?
I've got lots of pictures. There might be one of William somewhere.
Well, let's look through the whole flock. I've got lots of time.
Before I let you in, you better tell me your name. I don't want you to steal anything from me.
Honey, if anybody stole anything from you, they'd get their fingers burned off at the elbows. She opened the door and led me into the living room and sat down. The shades were drawn, and I had a hard time finding the couch.
Oh.
Pardon me, I'm flying blind
You
here.
must have studied Braille.
Well, how do we look at the pictures? With a magic lantern?
I thought maybe you wanted to relax a minute.
Put something in a glass. I'll cool down.
I don't drink. Never keep the stuff around.
Doesn't leave you much of a field. What do you major in?
Cigarette. Have one?
Yeah.
I haven't got a match.
Just hold on to it. It'll light up.
I think I'd better get the pictures. I'll be right back.
I get lonesome in the dark.
I'll just be a second. Turn on the radio.
Where is it?
By your elbow.
Oh.
That's nice.
Picked it out myself.
We can start with these. Miss William isn't in this file. I've got lots more. You're not in a hurry, are you?
Not a bit.
Good. This might run into overtime.
We will return you to yours truly, Johnny Dollar, in just a moment. Saddle up the sofa and ride off to adventure with CBS Radio every Saturday night. That's when most of these same stations bring you the Gene Autry Show and Bill Boyd as Hopalong Cassidy. Rustlers don't stand a chance. Crooks to the range go down under fire when those two riders for justice, Gene Autry and Hopalong Cassidy, empty their holsters. Enjoy their latest adventures tonight on CBS Radio. Now with our star, Edmund O'Brien, we bring you the second act of yours truly, Johnny Dollar.
Virginia Carter wasn't worried about working late. There was only one trouble with the job. It was tough keeping my mind on two things at once. It was like trying to read a mail order catalog in front of a blast furnace. She sat close to me and handed me one picture of a kind, describing each guy in the photograph. I've seen draft boards with smaller clientele. Several times she stopped and looked at one of the pictures, smiled, and passed the guy to me. I was going to mention an old snapshot I had of myself when she tapped one of the collection with a polished fingernail.
William Baskerville. Here he is.
Figured to be sooner or later. How long ago was this taken?
I couldn't say exactly, but I'd guess about 6 years.
I should keep a file.
William was a nice guy. He had money. Showed me a good time.
What else do you know about him?
He has a brother with a checking account at Fort Knox.
William have any unusual habits?
A few. They wouldn't help you find him.
Well...
I remember something. He used to play the saxophone.
Hobby?
No, not exactly. He played around town with several small bands.
Used to pick me up after work and we'd go to a dive someplace and he'd sit in. He loved it. He was a nut on jazz.
You make money at it?
I guess so. Before he went to work for his brother. I don't think his brother liked him finding himself.
Okay, honey, thanks. I'll stop around again sometime. Take a look at your parlor.
I'll spin a nice soft web.
You mind if I take William with me?
Not if you bring a picture back to yourself.
Maybe I'll just bring a camera. You can take it yourself.
Good. That's why I keep the room so dark.
I hated to leave, but my hair was already curly enough. She had given me one lead. William was a musician of sorts, and sometimes he made money at it. I started across the street to catch another cab, and I was halfway there when I heard the car. It was an old trick. You drive by fast, open your door, and if anyone is in the way, he winds up with a face full of automobile. I ducked in a hurry. I picked myself up and thought about chasing it, but he was so far down the street I couldn't even get the license number. Expense account item 4, $3.35. Another cab to local 802 of the Musicians Union. I went in, and a little short guy with a twitch looked up at me from behind a big desk.
Yeah, something I can do for you, Pops?
That twitch?
Yeah. Too much pop.
You know William Baskerville plays sax?
Has he got a card?
He makes money.
Well, if he ain't, he better have.
See if he does. I'm an old friend, and I'd like to get in touch with him. Between twitches, he found what I was looking for. William had just renewed his card. It didn't show a home address, but his mail was being sent to one of the swing joints on 52nd Street. I said thanks and left the little man in the middle of a twitch. Expense account item 5, $3.85. Still another cab to the address on 52nd Street.
On a table, huh?
I'm looking for William Baskerville.
Baskerville?
Plays the sax.
Yeah, he'll have to ask one of the musicians. I don't pay no attention to the music. Tone deaf.
Thanks. Can I bother you for a minute?
No. But you can talk to me. Move and lean on the piano.
Know William Baskerville?
Sure. He blows here.
Where is he?
He's off tonight. He got a phone call and took off. Why?
I want to find him.
He took off. He left rehearsal and just took off.
Was he headed someplace?
Sure. Everybody's headed someplace. You can't go nowhere without heading someplace.
Never quite looked at it that way. What time did he leave?
About 4:30. What do you want Willie for?
I got a message for him.
You a cop?
What makes you think so?
I don't think so. I was just asking. I just thought maybe. Not for sure.
What?
What do you mean, what?
How do you feel?
Oh, the end. Sometime when I got the patience, I'll tell you all about it, but don't bug me now, all right?
Here's 5. Come down and tell me where William Baskerville lives.
I'll take the 5, but I'm staying right where I am. I like you.
I may cry.
You're putting me on now.
You've got my 5.
5? Oh, yeah. What did it buy you?
An address.
Great.
I want William Baskerville.
Okay, I can't make this much longer anyway. 69 East 12th Street.
Thanks.
Solid.
Expense account item 6, cab number 4, 75 cents to the home of Brother Baskerville. I climbed the stairs of a beat-up building and stopped at a door on the 3rd floor. According to the landlord, Brother Baskerville's room was on the other side. I tried my knuckles again and put my ear to the door. I couldn't figure it out at first. It was a strange sound, the light scraping like a rope over wood. I tried the door. I'd been right on both counts. It was rope and it was rubbing on wood. Because Brother Baskerville was making the sound effects, but he was doing it the hard way. He was on one end of the rope, hanging by his neck. He was turning slowly like a weather vane in a soft breeze. A chair was tipped over at his feet, and there was a phone on the table. I crossed to it and was about to call Lieutenant Brenner's when I looked at the dead man again, and my stomach jumped up and kicked my mind into high gear. I walked back to him and picked up the chair. What I saw threw the suicide theory right out of the window. If he had used the chair to stand on, he would have still needed a ladder just to tie the rope to the rafters. I've seen a couple of guys that hang themselves, but never one that jumped 4 feet in the air to do it. I shoved the chair under him just to make sure. He cleared it by a good foot. Hello?
Hello, William?
He's tied up right now.
Who is this? Hello, who is this?
Sometimes you get lucky. A guy would have to be congenitally deaf to Miss Virginia Carter's lovely voice. She'd been lying when she told me she didn't know where William lived, and I just have a natural aversion to lying women, especially when they're mixed up in a murder. You get expense account item 7, cab fare, $1.55 back to Greenwich in Virginia Carter's darkroom.
Well, Mr. Darling, did you bring your camera?
We'll play spin the bottle some other time. How'd you know my name?
Why, you gave it to me this afternoon.
You're a bad liar. I'm coming in.
Oh, now, wait a minute. I'm expecting someone.
If it's who I think it is, you better hide all the rope in the house. Now move it.
Oh,
You heard from Collins yet?
I don't know what you're talking about.
Only 2 people have lied to me today, you and Collins. You told me you didn't know where William lived, and you called him 10 minutes ago. Collins said he saw William standing in the garden with a gun, and a musician told me William didn't leave rehearsal until 4:30. I didn't leave the Baskerville home until 4.
Get out of here. I don't know anybody named Collins.
Okay, but Collins just killed William Baskerville. Oh, yes. He strangled him first and then stood on a chair and hung the body to a rafter.
How do you know it was Collins?
Because he forgot he's a foot taller than most guys. He gave William a boost, but he left him hanging too high.
Wait a minute.
He just left William waiting for oxygen.
You didn't say anything about killing William. I want to get out of this mess.
Slow down and tell me everything you know.
Well, I met him with William. William introduced me to him one night. After William went to prison, I started seeing Collins. He told me that he'd been in some kind of a deal with William. He'd stolen some money, and that was why William went to prison. He went up and was supposed to split with Collins when he got out.
So William came back and wanted his share, and Collins killed him.
I didn't know he was going to kill him. He forged some kind of a letter so that it would look like it came from Martin.
That's where the letter figured. He was going to kill Carl Baskerville and blame it on William.
He didn't say anything about killing anybody.
He killed him and stole the letter. Looked like William had killed him and taken the letter to hide the motive.
Listen, Mr. Dollar.
Collins must have come in through the kitchen and started shooting. She went down like a diver with a bends and died on her face. He was trying for me when I jumped to one side and knocked over the only light burning in the room. He came close, but the flash of his gun gave him away, and I threw enough lead to fill a sink. Collins stumbled back into the kitchen, but he was dragging. I heard him drop, and I moved in after him. The moonlight slanted down through one of the windows and splashed out on the hard floor. He was lying in it, on his back, like he wanted to get that far anyway. You better give it up, Collins.
Forget it. No reason to kill you now.
Before you close your eyes, tell me something.
All right. It won't take too long.
Why didn't you go out and get William yourself? Why wait until I found him?
Couldn't take the chance. I knew the old man would have somebody. Start looking sooner or later. I killed him in the garden because I knew you'd make a good whip. Probably go looking for Virginia after he told you about her.
You called her and told her to tell me everything she knew.
That's right. Wanted you to find him so. Like a suicide.
You nearly got away with it. You just forgot how tall you were when you hanged William. You tried to run me down?
No. Just wanted to scare you. Make you think it was William.
I'll call an ambulance.
No. I got 3 of them. Should be right enough. It's a nice night to die.
Yeah? Not a cloud in the sky. It's a beautiful night.
Yeah. I can't use it. But I'll give it to you.
I called Brenner's, and he came over with his boys and cleaned it up. Virginia, the girl with the rogues gallery, was dead. And Collins wasn't long catching up. It was pretty simple. Collins and young Baskerville had taken $100,000 from the brothers' company, and William was caught. He did 6 years, knowing that when he got out, there would be $50,000 waiting. In the meantime, Collins had his girl, and enough time to think that $100,000 was better if it wasn't split in the middle. Collins framed William with the letter and then started killing. Expense account item 8, $23.45 dinner and incidentals covering the rest of the night up till the bars closed. Expense account item 9, $10, a massage and steam bath. Item 10, another cab to Grand Central, 65 cents. Item 11, $38.55 train fare and incidentals back to Hartford. Expense account total, $137.27. Comment? Murder isn't so bad. A ride in any New York cab makes a killing look like a Sunday school taffy pull. Yours truly, Johnny Dollar.
Yours truly, Johnny Dollar, stars Edmund O'Brien in the title role and was written by Blake Edwards with music by Wilbur Hatch. Edmund O'Brien can soon be seen starring in the Paramount Pictures Technicolor production, Silver City. Featured in tonight's cast were Stacey Harris, Bill Boucher, Howard McNear, Sidney Miller, and Virginia Gregg. Yours truly, Johnny Dollar, is transcribed in Hollywood by Jaime Del Valle.
This is Dan Cumberly inviting you to join us next week at this time when Edmund O'Brien returns as
Yours truly, Johnny Dollar.
Welcome back. Well, a particularly dark story. Everybody dies, and the insurance company has got to give $500,000 in life insurance insurance payments to somebody. I have to admit, it did take some audacity. We've talked about a trend of short Johnny Dollar expense accounts. This one, it definitely took some chutzpah to go ahead and say, let me go ahead and tack on a massage. And this one was later done in the John Lund series, which we'll be getting to in a few weeks now. Well, now we turn to listener comments and feedback. Jody emails in, says, I've written before, and as always, I love your podcast. I saw your review of The Red Box and enjoyed it. Red Box, Nero Wolfe book. But I was wondering if you could help me. Could you please remind me of who the killer was and what the motive was? I went ahead and I responded to that. I'm not going to share that part of the response here. I would encourage you to go and read it for yourself. Nero Wolfe book's definitely pretty memorable. I can remember this one. But definitely remembered she goes on to write, I'll explain. I enjoyed the Nero Wolfe radio shows from your podcast so much that I started reading the book. Since May, I've read 13, and I'm in the middle of another. They're all blurring together, and I have a horrible memory for the endings. However, now I'm darn curious as to how it ended. I'd appreciate your help with just a brief reminder. Thanks for all the work you do. I love your podcast. I'm very glad I discovered the Rex Stout books. I'm hooked. I'm definitely hooked as well. I've watched the entire TV series. I don't know if I've been through as many as 13, but pretty close to a dozen. They're great books, and we have some comments from Podcast Alley. Adam does a great job introducing each episode. I really enjoy Johnny Dollar. Keep up the good work, from John in Livonia, Michigan. I love the podcast. Writes another listener, and best podcast around. And Rick writes in from Canada. Love this podcast. Thanks for providing this for all the fans, young and old. Great job. I also received an encouraging note from Chris, pledging to support the show, and it's definitely appreciated. I just want to say thank you. Won't read the whole thing, but thanks so much to Chris. And that will actually do it for this week. On Monday and Tuesday, we're going to announce the new shows that we will be playing next year. So you'll want to be listening to that. Remember to support our support campaign, support.greatdetectives.net. All contributions must be received by September the 10th. Follow us on Twitter at Radio Detectives and give us a call, 208-991-4783. But from Boise, Idaho, this is your host, Adam Graham, signing off.